Chapter 248, He is running. This is impossible. The moment the thought appeared in her mind, Shin Bairu shook her head vigorously. She had once read on an ancient manual that in the upper 9 paths, other than the commonly seen occupations such as blacksmith, apothecary, and formation master, there was another mysterious occupation, seer. Seers are skilled in divination. Using special methods, they are able to foresee the events that would happen in the near future and then make preparations for it in advance. If Zhang Xian were a seer, it would have been completely possible for him to know the questions in advance and flip through the corresponding books to memorize the correct answers. But if so, he didn't need to browse through all of the books in the library. Could it be that Zhang Laoshe possessed talents in this mysterious occupation? If that was the case, that explained why Zhang Xian was able to answer her questions outside the compendium pavilion perfectly back then. That also explained why he knew that Yun Tao's formation couldn't confine the gold-alloyed panther. Now that she thought of it, this might really be the case. Just that this occupation exists only in the legends. According to the ratio stated in the books, out of billions of cultivators, there might not even be a single seer. Given the absurd rarity of the occupation, nearly no one has ever seen a seer. If Zhang Xian possessed such abilities, he could have avoided scoring a 0 in his teacher qualification examination, and he wouldn't have suffered so much afterward either. Besides, divination only allows one to foresee the rough outline of affairs that is about to happen. It is impossible to peer into the specific questions of the examinations and make preparations for them beforehand. Shin Bairu's eyebrows knitted tightly together as she mused over the matter. The more she thought about it, the more confused she became. She thought that she knew this Zhang Laoshe well, but from the looks of it, all she had seen was just the tip of the glacier. After deriving nothing at all after a long period of contemplation, her curiosity toward Zhang Laoshe grew. At this moment, she finally understood why Han Qiong said she wasn't worthy of the other party. While she was beautiful and possessed quite some talent, Zhang Xian was simply out of her league. As her thoughts were wandering around the place, Zhu Jinhuang and Zhou Xian were staring at Zhang Xian's back with widened eyes. This fellow, is he mad? To only start reading right before the examination? There must be something wrong with his head. What use is there to browse through books now? The two of them muttered as they sneaked glances toward Mou. There were deep creases on her forehead, and it was a mystery to them what she was thinking about. They were about to walk up to fawn on her when their goddess turned around and walked in the library's direction. Mou Xiaojie, the duo hurriedly followed behind her. Stay here. I will break the legs of who follows me. Harumphing coldly, Mou turned around and headed straight for the library. Damn it, damn it. Hearing Princess Mou berate the two of them because of a fellow she had just met, Zhu Jinhuang and Zhou Xian's faces reddened in anger. But before their rage could burn for long, Mou Xiaojie returned to the examination hall. She was muttering something beneath her breath, and there was a bizarre expression on her face. The two of them stared at one another in confusion. They were curious about what she was saying, but fearful of angering the other party, they could only remain where they were and scratch their heads in frustration. After a short period, they finally came to the limit of their patience. Zhu Jinhuang beckoned a guard over and whispered into his ear. The guard then circled around the room and appeared behind Mou. After listening into her words for a moment, he returned with an equally bizarre expression. What did Princess Mou say? Upon the guard's return, the duo asked anxiously. She kept saying flipping through books, flipping through books, flipping through books. As for her other words, I didn't manage to catch them. The guard scratched his head. Flipping through books. Zhu Jinhuang and Zhou Xian stared at one another. They could see bewilderment in each other's faces, and at the same time, a thought appeared in their minds. Can it be that their goddess has gone insane? Oblivious to the fact that the goddess of the duo was in a frenzy because of him, Zhang Xian was, at the moment, engaged the action which Mou kept mumbling about, flipping through books. He thought that there would at most be tens of thousands of books on beast taming here. However, upon walking into the library, he realized how childish his thoughts were. Looking at the dense congregation of books around him, there was surely no less than several 100,000 books. Even though it wasn't as large as Tianxian Kingdom's book collection vault, it wasn't far from it. If he were to use his usual method, several days would have passed before he could manage to flip through them all. He thought that the beast tamer examination would be easy, and that he would be able to finish it swiftly. If he were to spend several days flipping through books, even if he doesn't go mad, Hall Master Feng and the others waiting outside would go mad. Usually, people only spend a maximum of 4 hours to adjust their state of mind for examinations. If he were to take several days at a single go and emerge with bloodshot eyes, everyone would realize that something is amiss. But if I don't flip through all of these books, the Library of Heaven's Path won't be able to compile a corresponding book. If the knowledge within that book which I missed out were to be tested, I will fail the examination. Zhang Xian frowned. If so, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the free rental that beast tamers enjoy. Even though Zhang Xian possessed over 10 million gold coins in his storage ring, he had already cultivated frugal habits as a result of being an average librarian in his previous life. If he has the chance to save money, he would definitely seize it. This was no longer a matter of money, but principles. The Library of Heaven's Path allows me to view the information and flaws of an object just by touching it. If I were to touch this bookshelf, will the content of the books on it appear as well? Going by his usual pace, it would be impossible for him to finish flipping through so many books within a few hours. Thus, he had to look for another method. With a deep frown on his forehead, an idea suddenly appeared in his head. With a touch of his finger, he was able to compile a book on any objects, unconscious people, and unconscious savage beasts. Since these books were placed on a bookshelf, was it possible for all of the content of the books to appear in the Library of Heaven's Path just by touching the bookshelf? I should give it a try. Zhang Xian walked up to a bookshelf, touched the bookshelf, and mentally echoed flaws. Who? The library jolted and a book appeared. Flipping it open, Zhang Xian's body swayed and he nearly vomited blood. Written in the book is, Xianluo Mountain Range Beast Hall 3rd Row Bookshelf. Crafted by a 1mo craftsman using camphor wood. It has 37 years of, this is not what I want. Zhang Xian nearly burst into tears. Clearly, only when an object comes into direct contact in his hands would information and flaws be generated. There were no shortcuts around it. That's not right. If information is generated when an object comes in contact with my fingers, then even if I don't flip through these books, just by touching it, a corresponding book should be compiled as well, right? Before long, another thought popped into Zhang Xian's mind. The duration of contact didn't matter. As long as Zhang Xian willed for the flaws of an object to be shown, a book would be compiled. If so, it should be possible for Zhang Xian to compile corresponding books just by brief contact. I should try it out. Zhang Xian walked over to a pile of books and, yelling, flaws, in his head, his fingers slid past over them. Hoo. Zhang Xian was still considering whether its usefulness when the library jolted, a pile of new books appearing in his consciousness. It works. Zhang Xian's face reddened in agitation. He flipped open the compiled book quickly, and verified that the content of the original book was imprinted perfectly on it along with the various flaws. It's workable. Crying tears of happiness, Zhang Xian carried out several more tries in order to confirm the situation. As long as he willed for flaws to appear, he would be able to duplicate the books his fingers slid past in the Library of Heaven's Path. This was more than 100 times faster than flipping through the books. Zhang Xian was able to flip through more than a dozen books at once, but retrieving and returning the books from and to the shelves consumed much of his time. Now that Zhang Xian had confirmed that he could duplicate a book just by touching it, he could slide his fingers over the books without even moving the books from their original positions. As such, he was able to compile an entire shelf of books in less than a minute. However, due to the rapid pace of collecting the books, the intense tremor in the library would cause Zhang Xian's head to hurt. He was therefore unable to compile all of the books at a single go. Usually, after duplicating the books on several shelves, he would have to take a rest. Even so, his speed was much faster than before. At his current pace, he would only need around 2 hours to finish duplicating all of the books present. Let's go. Zhang Xian was delighted at finding an efficient way in collecting books. As he mentally yelled, "Flaws," he ran alongside the shelves as his fingers slid on the books. After finishing a row, he would double-check the books in the Library of Heaven's Path to see if he had missed out any. If so, he would return to add it in. As he collected more and more books, Zhang Xian's understanding toward beast taming increased swiftly. "Hall Master Feng, are you done preparing the papers?" In the room, Beast Tamer Lu and Beast Tamer Wang, upon seeing Hall Master Feng walk over, turned to look at him. Hall Master Feng nodded his head. Characteristics of hundreds of savage beasts are tested in this examination, and I hadn't gone easy on him at all. If he can answer all of these questions accurately, then his proficiency in beast taming is truly incredible. Since he is able to identify the ancient lightning cloud sparrow, he should be well versed in the knowledge of savage beasts. I think that there's a high probability of him passing the examination. Beast Tamer Lu said. Indeed. Our beast hall often ranks among the last in the competition because of our remote location and lack of talents. If a genius were to appear in our beast hall and win the competition, we might be able to successfully advance to become a 3-star beast tamer as part of the rewards. Hall Master Feng's eyes glowed in excitement. That's right. But we shouldn't rush the matter, let's wait for the results of the examination first. Beast Tamer Wang said. Honestly speaking, I think that Yun Tao had exaggerated his achievements. I find it hard to believe that a person can tame a Pishue realm savage beast within 10 minutes. I also find it hard to believe, but I've questioned Yun Tao's subordinates as well. All of their replies are the same, and they don't seem to be lying. Even if he isn't as amazing as Yun Tao put him out to be, he probably isn't too far from it. Beast Tamer Lu replied. No matter what, this is an opportunity. If he disappoints us, we will just have to continue looking for another candidate. Right, is Zhang Xian still browsing through books in the library? At this moment, Hall Master Feng suddenly noticed Zhang Xian's absence and frowned. He isn't out yet. Beast Tamer Lu nodded. Xiao Zhu, you take a look. Hall Master Feng commanded. Xiao Zhu was an apprentice which was currently learning beast taming under him. Hearing his commands, Xiao Zhu rushed into the library. Then a moment later, he returned with a flushed face. He opened his mouth to speak, only to close it hesitantly. Why? Is he still browsing through books? Upon seeing the expression on his apprentice, Hall Master Feng frowned in confusion. For his usually calm apprentice to behave in such a manner, what could have happened? That's not it, with an awkward expression, Xiao Zhu said, he is in the library running. Chapter 249, Discourse Running. Running inside the library. Hall Master Feng and the others questioned immediately if they had heard wrongly. They turned to look at Xiao Zhu with a perplexed expression. If you say that he is browsing through books or meditating in the library, I will be able to accept it. But running Hall Master Feng blinked, could you have seen wrongly? The library is full of bookshelves, it wouldn't be convenient to run in there. More importantly, since he was able to beat up a Pishue realm savage beast, his cultivation realm should be rather high as well. How fast does he have to run for it to be of any use to his cultivation? Could it be related to some beast taming methods? Maybe it is about catching up to some savage beasts. Beast Tamer Wang asked doubtfully. He isn't running quickly but merely at the pace of an ordinary human. Also, he seemed to be mumbling something while running around. However, as he is too far away, I couldn't really make out what he was saying. Xiao Zhu said in embarrassment. He didn't feel comfortable speaking about what he had seen just now, fearful that someone might take him for a lunatic. For a person who went to the library to adjust his state of mind to be running about while mumbling something, no one would ever think of it to be possible. Running, mumbling. This time, the 3 beast tamers were truly baffled. They thought so hard that they were about to claw out their head, but even so, they were unable to understand what in world has running got to do with adjusting his state of mind. Honestly speaking, the first idea that would pop into anyone's mind upon hearing about the other party's actions is wreaking havoc. If he isn't trying to wreak havoc, then what? Who in the world adjusts his state of mind like that? Furthermore, to do it in the library. Given how big the examination hall is, do you think that there isn't any space for you to run here? Besides, if you find this space small, there is a savage beast activity site which is several kilometers long. You won't be able to reach the other end even if you were to do somersaults for half an hour straight. No, I should go in to take a look. There are too many precious manuals in the library. I can't allow them to get damaged because of him. After pondering of a moment, Hall Master Feng thought that he couldn't let this matter be. Given how the other party was running about in the room, he was likely to not be in his right mind. If he were to suddenly set the library ablaze, it would be too late for tears then. He mustn't allow such a thing to happen. With a grim expression, he walked straight toward the library. But at that moment, a young man walked over, his face full of fatigue. Zhang Xian. The current Zhang Xian was completely different from how he was an hour ago. Regardless of whether his mental state or his physical body, he appeared clearly worn out. It seemed as though he had just undergone a torturous training, and that the energy in his body had been sapped dry. Are you all right? Hall Master Feng couldn't help but approach him. When others adjust their state of mind, they would enter their peak condition. On the other hand, this fellow seemed as if he had spent an entire night engaging in physical exercise. Are you sure you are adjusting your state of mind, not wearing your mind out? Oh, I'm all right. Is the paper ready? Let's begin. Zhang Xian waved his hands casually. Even though he had managed to imprint all of the books in the library into the Library of Heaven's path swiftly through the new method he discovered, due to the excessive amount of content inserted within a short period of time, the reverberation on his head was too great, causing him to become slightly faint-headed. At this moment, he felt as though he hadn't slept for 5 days. He was fatigued from head to toe. So do you want to start now? Seeing that the other party was having trouble opening his eyes, Hall Master Feng couldn't help but ask, are you sure? I'm sure. Zhang Xian nodded his head. Fine then. Let's go over there, the record crystal is out of range here. Hall Master Feng nodded. Regardless of whether it was for the apothecary examination or the beast tamer examination, for the sake of fairness, a record crystal would be used to record the entire process, such that those who doubt the impartiality of the examination could check on it. Soon, they arrived at the center of the room where the record crystal was located. Hall Master Feng and the other 2 beast tamers sat down. Upon seeing them sitting down, everyone knew what was going to happen. They immediately burst into discussions. The examination is about to start. Right. He is skipping the apprentice examination and going straight for the beast tamer examination. This is the privilege given only to the topmost geniuses. Even Mo Yu Xiaojie didn't enjoy such a benefit. I would like to see if the fellow would dare to remain in this place once he fails. He just happened to tame a few savage beasts by luck. Do you think he possesses true capabilities? I think that he will fail for sure. The first test assesses his theoretical knowledge. Without several years of study, it is impossible for one to remember the countless savage beasts in the world and their characteristics. Back then, in order to remember them all, our prince made to read through the books every day. This fellow isn't even 20. Even if he were to start studying from his mother's womb, how much content can he remember? He is trying to attract attention. I doubt that he has any true ability. Seeing that Zhang Xian was about to take the examination, everyone immediately crowded over, and many of their gazes were filled with derision. It has been long since someone had skipped the apprentice examination and gone straight for the beast tamer examination. Green with envy, most of them hoped that Zhang Xian would fail. This was especially so for Zhou Xian and Zhu Jinhuang. Due to their relationship with Yun Tao and Mo Yu Xiaojie, they were filled with hatred for this fellow. They would love it if Zhang Xian were to make a mockery of himself. If the other party were unable to even pass the theoretical examination, becoming a beast tamer would be nothing but a dream. Amidst the commotion, Mou was also brought back to reality. She stepped forward and glanced at the young man coldly. With just a single glance, her eyebrows shot up. What is wrong with this fellow? Just a moment ago, he was flipping through books spiritedly. But now why does he seem as though he had been sucked dry? The others could tell that something was amiss with Zhang Xian as well. Shen Bairu exchanged glances with Yun Tao, and deep creases appeared on their foreheads. Zhang Laoshe, are you all right? I'm fine. Zhang Xian nodded. It's just that I'm a little exhausted. To duplicate that huge collection of book in less than 2 hours into the Library of Heaven's Path took up a lot of his energy. Not only did he have to keep willing for flaws to appear, the tremor in his mind whenever a book was compiled took a toll on him. It would be truly weird if he were to appear spirited instead. In his current condition, it was a wonder that he could still remain standing. Elder, if you aren't feeling well, why don't we rest for a bit and take the examination tomorrow? Yun Tao asked. The person before him was potentially a Zhongshe realm expert. What in the world did he go through for him to be so exhausted? It's no problem. Knowing that they were simply expressing their concern, Zhang Xian was about to reject them politely when a cold sneer echoed. I think he is intentionally feigning it. Maybe his actual intention of heading into the library is to read up on the beast taming books, and upon realizing the difficulty of the examination, he decided to feign weakness to avoid the examination. The one who spoke was Zhu Jinhuang. There was blatant contempt in his eyes, and it seemed as though he was resolute to uncover a fraud's disguise. There must be the case. How is it possible to become so withered after reading just a few books? Pardon me for my ignorance, but this is my first time hearing of such a thing. Zhou Xian took this opportunity to get back at Zhang Xian. This, now that they spoke of it, it does seem possible. He was probably confident until he started flipping through the books and realized how profound the art of beast taming is. Fearful, but not wanting to disgrace himself, he decided to come up with an excuse. That must be the case. Most of the crowd thought that the words of the duo were logical and agreed with their view. If that's not the case, how can a simple trip to adjust his mental state result in him returning as though he was on the verge of death? He seemed so exhausted that it was as if he could collapse at any moment. It is impossible for someone to become so tired just by reading books. Since this situation can't be explained, only a single possibility is left. He is feigning it. There's no need for it. We can start now. Hearing the doubts and discussions in the surrounding, Zhang Xian waved his hands. This is the paper that I just came up with. You have an hour to complete it, and you will pass the examination if you score full marks. You may start now. Seeing him persist, Hall Master Feng decided to say nothing. Instead, he passed a huge stack of paper to Zhang Xian. Just like the written paper in the apprentice apothecary examination, it was dozens of pages thick. It would take a long time just to write an answer to every single question, not to mention the effort required to think through every question carefully in order to ensure that the answers are correct. Zhang Xian lowered his head to glance at the papers, only to see all kinds of questions on the fundamental knowledge of beast taming on it. The questions covered all aspects of beast taming, and without sufficient knowledge, one might not even understand the questions. All right, you can begin answering. The time starts now. Seeing Zhang Xian receive the papers, Hall Master Feng gestured grandly and said, Zhang Xian placed the papers on the desk and picked up a brush. He was about to begin answering when he felt his head ring. His entire hand seemed to be trembling uncontrollably. The rapid pace at which he duplicated the books into the Library of Heaven's Path had really taken a toll on him. Due to his insufficient cultivation, not only was he drained mentally, his body took a huge toll as well. It would probably take at least an hour of rest before he can recover. But he didn't have the time for it now. If he were to rest for an hour, it would be impossible for him to finish that thick stack of papers. Even with the assistance of the Library of Heaven's Path, it was an impossible feat. As long as he were to answer a question wrongly, he would fail the beast tamer examination. Failing and embarrassing himself was a small matter. More importantly, he would be unable to enjoy the privilege of a free ride. That was something he couldn't tolerate. Look, he seems to be so tired that he can't even hold the brush. Do you believe that a cultivator whose cultivation exceeds Pishu's realm can be so tired as to be unable to hold a brush? It must be an act. That must be the case. He must have seen the questions and felt that it is beyond him. That's why he chose to feign weakness. Honestly speaking, this is the kind of people that I despise the most. Who doesn't despise such people? Seeing how Zhang Xian's fingers were trembling to the point where he was unable to grip his brush properly, everyone harumphed coldly. Hall Master Feng, Beast Tamer Lu, and the others stared at one another doubtfully. Can that really be the case? But it isn't logical for Zhang Xian to be so exhausted just by running about the library. Zhang Xian, if you feel that you aren't in a condition to answer the questions, I can allow you to rest for a day and start tomorrow. After confirming visually that the fellow before him was to be in a bad state to answer the paper, Hall Master Feng couldn't stand it further and said. Sighing, with trembling hands, Zhang Xian placed the brush down. The other party was right. Even if he were to force himself to write, his words would likely be illegible given his current condition. More importantly, his speed wouldn't be sufficient. It was likely that he would have to stop to rest after writing a few lines. It was impossible for him to finish the paper like that. If Zhang Xian wanted to pass the examination without wasting a day resting here, there was only one last option. Sighing, Zhang Xian lifted his head and looked forward. Hall Master Feng, the two beast tamers, I am not in a condition to hold a brush. Can I opt for a discourse instead? Discourse? The three beast tamers stood up in astonishment. Disbelief was reflected in their eyes. What did you say? You wish to take on the most difficult form of the theoretical examination discourse. Chapter 250, Can you lend me your tamed beast? Discourse is the most difficult mode of assessment in the beast tamer theoretical examination. Instead of answering using a brush, one answered by speaking with his mouth. When answering through writing, one is free to contemplate over the question for as long as they wish. Even if they were to write wrongly, they are able to change their answers. However, a discourse is not like that. The examinees aren't given thinking time or an opportunity to change their answers. The moment it starts, the examinee will have to answer all questions correctly. If he were to spout a single erroneous word, it would mean his failure. This examination model is similar to the pill debate of the Apothecary Guild. It is specially prepared for master teachers so as to reduce the time required for the examination. At the same time, it assesses how well-versed one was in the knowledge of beast taming, as well as how fast one can access that knowledge. A normal written theoretical examination takes 2 hours while a discourse is only an hour long. Even so, the difficulty of a discourse is way higher than that of a written paper. It has high demands on a person's reaction speed and their grasp on their knowledge. Virtually no one dares to take it on, and there is no need for them to do so too. As such, for the past 1,000 years since this branch's founding, no one had ever taken up the challenge. Hall Master Feng and the others didn't expect that this fellow, who seemed as though he would collapse at any moment, would choose to challenge the beast tamer examination in this format. Yes. Zhang Xian nodded his head. You should think it through. You aren't allowed thinking time during a discourse, and the moment you make a mistake, you will be disqualified, Hall Master Feng advised. I understand, but I'm really too tired to use a brush. Thus, I can only opt for this method. Zhang Xian nodded. Since you insist, let's start then. Seeing the determination in Zhang Xian's eyes, Hall Master Feng decided to follow his wishes. Thus, he stepped forward, retrieved the examination papers, and looked at Zhang Xian. Tell me about the defining characteristics of gold-armored steel Fang beast. The gold-armored steel fang beast is a Pishue realm savage beast whose entire body is covered by golden scales, providing it with powerful defensive ability. It usually dwells in the marshlands or near mountain streams, feeding on green bamboo grass which grows around that area. Also, it is nocturnal. This is what Senior Hu Yao mentions as in Stratagem to Beast Taming. In the Encyclopedia on Gold-Armored Steel Fang Beast, written by Beast Tamer by Zhen, his descriptions of the savage beast are slightly different from Senior Hu Yao. Based on his observations, the gold-armored steel fang beast prefers cooling places. As such, it often lives in shadowy places where the sun doesn't reach. 30 years ago, numerous outstanding seniors of the Beast Hall gathered the theories of all of the predecessors, and after many years of research, they realized that the gold-armored steel fang beasts spoken of weren't of the same species. There is a total of 3 different species, namely the marsh steel fang beast which resides in the marshlands, the mountain steel fang beast which lives near mountain streams, and the shadow steel fang beast which dwells in the colder regions. There are clear differences between these 3 steel fang beasts. Firstly, the scales in the center of their foreheads are different. Secondly, the structure of their tails is different. If you wish to check on my answer, you can browse through the detailed explanation on gold-armored steel fang beasts left behind by them. It is toward the left of the 17th bookshelf in the library. Zhang Xian replied calmly. His answer is completely correct. The gold-armored steel fang beast was a rare savage beast. Furthermore, its classification was extremely confusing. Most people would only be able to recall basic characteristics about the savage beast, and the examiner would have already considered their answers to be correct. However, not only did Zhang Xian provide a complete answer, he even introduced the various books left behind by the senior beast tamers, even pointing out the exact locations of those books. The heck, is he really just a human? The crowd widened their eyes in shock. The entire room was deathly silent. The defining characteristics of steel-backed monkey. The steel-backed monkey has a massive spinal bone that towers up high. Most of the strength the steel-backed monkey possesses originates from its unique bone. Also, it possesses large feet which grant it swift speed. Even though it is a monkey, it is unable to scale trees. Instead, its body structure resembles larger ape-like savage beasts. These defining characteristics are recorded in Zacian's Savage Beasts Exposition. Senior Zacian is a famous beast tamer of the Beast Hall 140 years ago. Before everyone could recover, Hall Master Feng posed another question, and without any hesitation, the young man answered once more. Just like that, with a person asking questions and the other one answering them, the discourse proceeded extremely swiftly. Most of the time, while the crowd was still pondering whether the answer to the question was correct or not, the next question was already answered. In the eyes of the crowd, this young man who wasn't in his 20s yet felt like an answer sheet. Not only were his answers detailed, he even listed out the various possibilities and theories written in the books out. There wasn't a single flaw that could be picked out in his answers. Completely correct. Completely correct. The river worm's living habitat correct. Why the 3-stream river and the erudite bird is unable to coexist correct. As Hall Master Feng raised question after question, the replies he received left him in so much shock that his mind was about to go blank. Initially, he thought that the other party only happened to know the answer to the questions he raised. As long as he increased the difficulty later on, the other party would surely be unable to reply so swiftly. However, despite the other party seeming as though he was on the verge of fainting, his replies only came faster and faster. Hall Master Feng felt as though he was unable to keep up with the situation. More importantly, not only was he fast, his answer was flawless. If Hall Master Feng didn't see it for himself, he wouldn't dare believe it to be true. To think that there would be such a monster in the world. It was no wonder why the other party could recognize the ancient lightning cloud sparrow. In terms of fundamental knowledge on savage beasts, it was likely that Zhang Xian far surpassed the 3 2-star beast tamers. This is impossible. These questions are so difficult. While the 3 two-star beast tamers were overwhelmed by shock, Zhou Xian and Zhu Jinhuang were dumbfounded by the sight before them. They could see the fear in each other's eyes. The questions which Half-Master Feng just raised were of such great difficulty that even they would be unable to answer them. It wasn't that their fundamental knowledge of savage beasts was weak. Rather, in several questions, the defining characteristics of the savage beast were extremely similar. With just the slightest lapse in judgment, they would make an error. For example, the river worm which was just mentioned may sound like an insect, but it is actually an extremely powerful savage beast. Its bones grow on its surface and it possesses immense strength. Yet, such a ferocious and immense savage beast is able to float on the surface of the river. Most people would think that this savage beast lives on the surface of the water upon hearing the word river. Yet, contrary to all expectations, the habitat it is compatible with is the mountains. None of the questions that Half-Master Feng raised was simple. Even on a written paper, they would have to contemplate for a long period before they can jot down their answer. On the other hand, the other party is able to answer immediately, as though he didn't need to muse over the question at all. How does he do it? Putting aside them, even the super genius Mo would be incapable of answering such a question on the spot. This is the performance of someone who had assimilated all of the fundamental knowledge thoroughly into his bones. Zhu Jinhuang and Zhou Xian shuddered. They actually accused a person of such greatness of knowing nothing at all and putting on an act? Compared to him, the knowledge they had was laughably pathetic. While passing the apprentice theoretical examination through discourse and written paper seemed like the same thing, as someone who had studied beast taming for several years, they knew that it wasn't that simple. Often, while taming a savage beast, unexpected situations would occur. Under such circumstances, one would have to swiftly organize the situation and knowledge in their arsenal to decide on the optimal course of action. Every second count. If they were to miss the timing, it is likely for the situation to complicate, causing the difficulty of the taming process to multiply several folds. This is precisely the reason why a beast tamer who passed the theoretical examination through discourse is highly respected by the others. Every single beast tamer who passed the discourse eventually went on to achieve incredible feats. Initially, they thought that Zhang Xian was only a clown who wished to make a name for himself. Never in their dreams could they have imagined that not only were his answers perfect, he didn't even need to think at all. This isn't something a human can do. While the two of them were trembling in fear, Shen Bairu's mouth was wide opened. The fellow who didn't know what the beast forest was 2 hours ago was now spouting innumerable theories and facts as though they were nothing at all. No matter how foolish she could be, it was clear that something was amiss. Does he really possess the talent of a seer? If it were just a doubt to her before, at this moment, she was completely certain of it. How could he have answered all of the questions so swiftly if he didn't know the questions beforehand? On the other hand, a frown was etched on Mou's forehead. Doubt flashed across her eyes as she pondered. This is all. Half-Master Feng, Beast Tamer Lu, Beast Tamer Wang, are my answers correct? After a moment, Zhang Xian finally finished answering the final question and smiled at them. Your answers are completely correct. The three of them glanced at one another before Half-Master Feng nodded his head. The other party had answered all of the questions in the theoretical examination in less than an hour. Not only so, he even brought up the history of how the answers were derived. They couldn't help but admire how detailed and precise his answers were. Since you've answered all of the questions correctly, you've passed the first test. It didn't take long for Half-Master Feng to announce the result. Then, he gazed at Zhang Xian once more and said, since you've passed the first test, let's go on to the second one, taming a savage beast. You have half a month, and you only have to achieve inceptive taming to pass. Half a month? That's too long. Do you keep any untamed savage beast here? Can you allow me to tame it? Even though there are countless savage beasts in Xianluo mountain range, it isn't easy to find a specific one which fits the examination criteria. If Zhang Xian were to head out to look for one, it would definitely take up plenty of time. Since he is in the beast hall now, there is likely to be a suitable savage beast. As he said so, Zhang Xian stood up. Throughout the duration of the discourse, Zhang Xian's fatigued physical body had recovered slightly. Even though his condition remained non-optimal, he was clearly in a much better state than before. Allow you to tame it? Hearing those words, everyone became speechless. What a joke! Every single savage beast is valuable, how can we possibly allow you to tame it? Besides, only tamed beasts are allowed to enter the beast hall. Otherwise, if a stampede were to occur, no one would be able to bear responsibility. Hearing Zhang Xian spout such amateurish words, Mou harumphed coldly in displeasure. Is that the case? Zhang Xian shook his head. He didn't expect the beast tamer examination to turn out to be so troublesome. Where in the world can he look for an untamed savage beast now? Ah, right. Can I borrow your viridescent eagle to tame? Suddenly, a thought flashed in Zhang Xian's mind. He immediately turned to Mou and asked. Chapter 251, Beast Pummeling Taming Method. The savage beasts in the beast hall are those brought back by beast tamers after great efforts to tame them. As such, they are considered as private possessions. Most beast tamers regard their savage beasts as their wives, and Zhang Xian's request for wanting to borrow a tamed savage beast was no different from borrowing another person's wife to play with. Everyone stared at him as though staring at an idiot. Mou nearly exploded on the spot. Borrowing my savage beast to tame? How in the world did he think of such an idea? How can taming a wild savage beast be the same as taming a tamed beast? Taming the latter is several times harder than taming a wild savage beast. Even though she had only accomplished inceptive taming with the viridescent eagle, she had already interacted with it for 7 to 8 days and had agreed to many of its difficult demands. Throughout the days that the both of them were together, a deep and strong bond had already sprouted between them. The loyalty level of the viridescent eagle had already reached 30 and wasn't too far from 31 to achieve advanced taming. Besides, this viridescent eagle is arrogant and hates interacting with humans. It was the work of numerous coincidences that allowed her to tame it. Yet, this fellow said that he wanted to borrow it from her to tame it. Do you think that this is a joke? She felt so stifled that she was about to go on a frenzy. She had become so impressed with the solid fundamental knowledge of the other party and thought that he was a beast-taming genius when he immediately spoke the words of an amateur. Borrow? Borrow your head. This is my first time I'm hearing that one can borrow a savage beast to tame. Why don't you borrow another person's wife to play with instead? She narrowed her eyes and sneered coldly. Just as she was about to reprimand the other party for his thoughtless words, Zhu Jinhuang walked up and whispered into her ears. Mou Xiaojia, I think that it's a good idea to lend the viridescent eagle for him to tame. What did you say? Mou glared at Zhu Jinhuang ferociously. It seemed as though if his answer didn't please her, she would immediately fly into a rage. You have already tamed the viridescent eagle, and its loyalty level has also reached 30. It is definitely impossible for him to tame it. Isn't this fellow acting arrogantly and gleefully? You should give him a try, and once he fails, he would definitely be embarrassed. Zhu Jinhuang harumphed. Indeed. Even a 2-star pinnacle beast tamer like Hall Master Feng is unable to tame a tamed beast. Despite not being a beast tamer, he is speaking such arrogant words. I think that we should teach him a lesson. Zhou Xian chirped in. Hearing the words of the two, Mou hesitated for a moment before nodding her head. She felt that their words made sense. It is technically impossible to tame a tamed beast. Since this fellow is acting so impudently, it isn't anything to let him embarrass himself. As she thought so, she harumphed coldly and looked at Zhang Xian. You wish to borrow my viridescent eagle? Here it is. If you can tame it, I'll allow you to have it. Are you serious? Zhang Xian was only asking casually, he hadn't expected the other party to agree to his request. With glowing eyes, he turned to look at Hall Master Feng and the others. If I were to tame this viridescent eagle, will it be considered as a pass for the second test? This yes, it can be considered as a pass. Hall Master Feng nodded. He had a bizarre expression on his face. This fellow had just shown his vast knowledge on beast taming through the discourse. Why did he become an ignorant amateur all of a sudden? This viridescent eagle is clearly extremely fond of Mou, and it is just a matter of time before it submits completely to her. Yet, you want to try to tame it, aren't you? Looking for trouble? You are wasting time like this. You might as well head out and look for a wild savage beast. Good. After the moment of rest, Zhang Xian has roughly recovered from the toll from duplicating those books. Chuckling, he walked forward to the viridescent eagle. Little eagle, your master has already lent you to me. You should hurry up and submit to me. Chio. A Tongxian realm savage beast like it is capable of understanding human speech. Upon hearing Zhang Xian's words, it exploded into a rage. This is blatant provocation. Other people brought it good food, entertainment, and all kinds of treasures when trying to tame me. Yet, you came to me empty-handed. More importantly, what's with this attitude? Acting as though it is my fortune to be able to submit to you, Pui. The furious viridescent eagle raised its giant wings and smacked it straight at Zhang Xian. Hula. The wind blew violently. The resilient wings and the sharp feathers cut through the air as though a sharp knife, causing the air to shrill. This fellow is a Tongxian realm savage beast, and its fighting prowess is much stronger than an average Tongxian realm cultivator. The air seemed to part wherever the wings passed by. Everyone's face immediately turned pale as they stepped backward. It would be difficult for a Pishue realm expert to even withstand the shock wave from its movement, needless to say, face it head-on. Who? Even as everyone retreated backward, Zhang Xian's expression remained completely calm. With a slight sway of his body, he was already 7 to 8 meters away, thus dodging the attack. Pipa. A dozen meters long crack appeared on the tough bluestone ground after being struck by the wings. The bluestone ground was something the Beast Hall purchased from Bayou City at an exorbitant price. Even a Pishue realm pinnacle expert would find it difficult to leave a mark with a punch from their fists. Yet, with a slight sweep from the viridescent eagle's wings, such a huge crack appeared. Strong, Yun Tao and the others turned pale. If it were them, they would surely have been unable to dodge the attack in time. They would have been struck to death in an instant. If you continue, don't blame me for not going easy on you. In contrast to everyone's fear, Zhang Xian frowned in displeasure. Chio. Upon hearing those words and seeing the expression in Zhang Xian's face, the viridescent eagle was enraged further. Flapping its wings, it flew into the air and struck at Zhang Xian with its sharp claws. The two most powerful moves of the viridescent eagle are the wing sweep and steel claw. The second move is much stronger than the first one. Furthermore, it has a flight advantage, and the momentum from its swoop downwards adds to its force. Even a Half-Zhizun expert would find it hard to deal with this move unprepared. One wouldn't die if they don't court death. You shouldn't have been so arrogant in the first place. To even dare to taunt a viridescent eagle, you deserve it. Zhu Jinhuang, Zhou Xian, and the others sneered coldly. Even their strongest guards were unable to withstand this powerful move from the viridescent eagle. They didn't believe that this youngster who wasn't even in his 20s yet could survive the attack. The moment he is grabbed by those claws, even if he isn't torn apart, he will surely sustain severe injuries. With this move, the viridescent eagle is able to unleash a might exceeding 500 ding, and that is comparable to a Half-Zhizun. The only way to deal with this move is to avoid it. No one could have imagined that this lad would be so good at incurring the ire of others. With just a few words, he caused the viridescent eagle to fly into a rage. Upon seeing it use its powerful steel claws, everyone grew anxious. There are innumerable cases of beast tamers killed while trying to tame a savage beast. However, it was unheard of for a person to be killed by a savage beast in the Beast Hall. Just when everyone thought that misfortune would befall Zhang Xian, his calm voice echoed. Since you're unwilling to listen, I've no other choice. As he spoke, he clenched his fist and faced the other party's claws straight on. Ah! Everyone shuddered. The claws of the viridescent eagle are more than capable of smashing through steel. Yet, to face it with his fists pang. Before anyone could recover from their terror, the fist and the claw had met. Everyone was expecting the youngster would fracture his arm and suffer grievous wounds when the haughty viridescent eagle suddenly released a shrill scream. As though struck by a massive mountain, it was unable to control its body and fell from the skies. Pooh! It crashed heavily on the ground. At this moment, everyone could see its distorted claws. Ah! Everyone exclaimed in astonishment. Ah, the same exclamation, but one was in fear while the other one was in shock. They felt as though their moods were on a roller coaster ride, flying from one end of the spectrum to the other, and then end abruptly. Even catching a savage beast isn't as thrilling as this. Weren't you acting arrogantly just now? However, before they could recover from the shock, Zhang Xian has already walked up to the viridescent eagle and sent a kick at it. Pang! Before the viridescent eagle could react, it was sent flying outward. It crashed heavily into a pillar in the room and twitched non-stop. The strength of his kick definitely exceeded 600 ding. Regardless of how powerful the defenses of the eagle was, it should be impossible to withstand. To dare to make a move against me, you must be tired of living. It seemed that a single kick wasn't enough to vent Zhang Xian's frustration. He walked forward and kicked yet again. Pang! The viridescent eagle was sent into the air once more. Its haughtiness had disappeared without a trace, and at this moment, it appeared exceptionally shabby. If not for the strong defense it possessed as a savage beast, it would have already died from the 2 kicks. Stop! Mou's face turned red in anger. That was her savage beast. If Zhang Xian were to continue beating it up like that, even if it doesn't die, it would become crippled. She couldn't allow the savage beast which she has tamed with great difficulty to die here just like that. Mou Xiaojie, don't panic. This should be the beast pummeling taming method. Yuntao hurriedly walked over to inform her. Beast pummeling taming method? This is the name that I came up with. Every time Elder tames a beast, he would first beat it up. It seems that he's doing the same this time as well. Admiration gleamed in Yuntao's eyes. As expected of Elder Zhang Xian, his beast taming method is indeed extraordinary. This is one of the hardest Tongxian realm savage beasts to tame. Other people would have to bring tons of delicious food and treasures to coax it. Yet, he started pummeling it immediately without any mercy. He couldn't help but admire his courage. Can he really tame the savage beast like that? I think he'll only incur the wrath and resentment of the viridescent eagle. Mou's eyes narrowed. She had read nearly all of the books in the library, but she had never heard of any beast pummeling taming method. Such an action would only cause resentment in the savage beast. If so, how can one successfully tame it? The viridescent eagle, as one of the stronger aerial savage beast, has a wild and arrogant nature. It has great pride, and if one tries to befriend it as an equal, it might still choose to give in. However, if one hopes to tame it by pummeling it, that's no different from daydreaming, flinging her sleeves, Mou harumphed. However, before she could finish her words, her body froze abruptly. Her eyes widened as she muttered, "Ah. This what is going on?" All of a sudden, the hostile viridescent eagle struggled to its feet and rubbed its head against Zhang Xian's body, fawning on him as though a loyal dog. This is voluntary submission. Chapter 252, Failed. This is an incomparably prideful viridescent eagle. In order to tame it, Mou had specially climbed to the peak of the mountain, personally slaughtered a Pishue realm snake for its dinner, gathered snow water for its bath. Even so, this fellow had only agreed to follow her to the examination. In a sense, she hasn't successfully tamed it yet. Yet, after the beating, it lowered its head immediately. What that maddened Mou the most was the fawning expression it had on its face, as though it was trying to please the other party. What the heck is that? Mou felt a stifling sensation at her chest. All of the sudden, she felt uncomfortable. That was her savage beast, and she wasn't too far away from establishing a contract with it. Yet, at this moment, it was lying on another person's lap, trying to please the person. She felt so depressed that she was not far from sustaining internal injuries from it. Zhu Jinhuang and Zhou Xian, who were extremely confident a moment ago, looked as though they had been slapped in their face. Their faces distorted in disbelief, and they looked as though they were on the verge of tears. Voluntary submission after a beating? Are our eyes playing tricks on us? You too. They were still brooding over the matter when Mo Yu Xiaojie turned to them with an icy-cold expression. Her teeth were so tightly gritted together that the sound of them grinding against one another could be heard. Didn't you two say that he will fail? Zhu Jinhuang and Zhou Xian trembled in fear. They were the ones who persuaded Mo Xiaojie to hand over the viridescent eagle for the other party to tame. They thought that they would be able to see the other party make an embarrassment out of himself. Not in their wildest dreams did they expect this situation to occur. Mo Xiaojie, don't panic, I think that the viridescent eagle is just flustered after being beaten up, so it is feigning submission. It'll probably retaliate in short moment, with twitching lips, Zhu Jinhuang hurriedly explained. Indeed, indeed. Savage beasts of such level possess intelligence. It must have thought that it wasn't a match for the fellow, so it decided to pretend to submit to Zhang Xian and look for another opportunity to exact vengeance, Zhou Xian said. However, before he could finish his words, an uproar could be heard. He turned over hurriedly and saw Zhang Xian place a drop of blood into the other party's throat. The contract had been established. Chio. After establishing the contract, the viridescent eagle lay before Zhang Xian in satisfaction. It rubbed its head against Zhang Xian's clothes unceasingly, as though a lazy cat who had just been fed and was filled with fondness for its master. Is this what you call feigning submission to exact vengeance? Furious, Mou's face turned beet red in anger. She kicked the duo, sending them flipping in the air. Have you seen any beast which establishes a contract while feigning submission? Have you ever seen any vengeful savage beast act in such a manner? Mou's breathing hastened, and she felt as though she was about to burst from all the rage. Why did she believe the words of these two fellows and lend the viridescent eagle to the other party to tame? It was too late for regrets, given that the two of them had already established a contract. Even so, amidst her anger, she was shocked as well. How in the world did he do it? She had watched the entire taming process carefully. All he did was to incur the other party's wrath before beating it up. Then, he whispered some words to it before patting a few spots on its body, and the attitude of the viridescent eagle changed immediately. Its infuriated expression suddenly turned into surprise and excitement. After which it immediately submitted to Zhang Xian. Can it be that that's right? It must be something that he said. Otherwise, how can its attitude have changed so quickly? Just that what in the world could he have said to drastically change the attitude of the furious viridescent eagle who desired to kill him so suddenly? How is it? My words are true, right? This is Elder Zhang Xian's skill, beast pummeling taming method. Any savage beast, after being beaten by him, would willingly submit. Yun Tao laughed heartily. Didn't you doubt him just now? Take a good look at this then. The viridescent eagle really submitted after a beating. This is Mou Xiaojie's savage beast. How is this possible? I don't understand it as well. It's not like we've never tried taming savage beasts by beating them up before. But, all of the attempts had ended in failure, so how in the world did he succeed? Everyone was dumbfounded. This was especially so for the 3 two-star beast tamers. They felt a dizzy sensation in their head. It's not like no beast tamer had attempted to tame a savage beast by beating it up. However, not only did such actions fail to tame the savage beast, it even incurred their wrath. Most of the savage beasts tamed in such a method would refuse food and die of starvation. There were cases of failures all around. Putting others aside, they had tried this method personally as well. This was the reason why they found it hard to believe Yun Tao's words. Yet to think that he wasn't lying. Just by beating the viridescent eagle up, it immediately submitted to him. Is this the same prideful and wild viridescent eagle? Why does it seem like an obedient dog now, fawning on Zhang Xian so shamelessly? They were still in a state of disbelief when Zhang Xian walked forward and inquired, Half-Master Feng and the two beast tamers, have I passed the examination? This, recovering from his shock, Half-Master Feng coughed immediately, cough cough, wait a moment. We have to check the loyalty level before deciding on your pass or failure. Even though it looked like the viridescent eagle had been tamed, there was still a need for official verification. Firstly, it was to ensure that the test was impartial and precise. Secondly, they were curious to see if this viridescent eagle has sincerely submitted to him. If it didn't submit to him from the bottom of its heart, flying on it may prove to be dangerous. Let's do the test then. Zhang Xian said casually. He was confident in the viridescent eagle's loyalty toward him. Naturally, the viridescent eagle didn't submit to him just because he beat it up. When it attacked him, a book on it was compiled in Zhang Xian's head. Thereafter, he swiftly looked through the book and understood the eagle's flaws. While it seemed that he was merely beating it up, he had infused his pure Jinqi into the body of the other party to cleanse its bloodline. Employing both the carrot and the stick simultaneously, it would be difficult for it to not submit to him. His Heaven's Path Jinqi is an unparalleled tool in cleansing a savage beast's bloodline and raising its cultivation. No savage beast is able to resist its allure. Given that there were only two choices, be killed by Zhang Xian, or follow him and raise its strength, regardless of how foolish a savage beast could be, it was obvious what they would choose. Compared to cleansing its bloodline and raising its strength, all of the other delicacies, tonics, and such were nothing. Wang. Beast Tamer Lu took the Heart Inquisition crystal and started conducting the test on the viridescent eagle. Zhou Xian and Zhu Jinhuang stood up and walked over to Princess Mou. Mou Xiaojie, don't worry. So what if he has established a contract? Given that the viridescent eagle is tamed through brute force, its loyalty level must be low. Even at maximum, it will only be 31. If it's just 31, given that Xiaojie's loyalty level is 30, there's a high possibility you might be able to tame it back. The two of them consoled. Even though advanced taming is technically a high level than inceptive taming, in practice, a loyalty level of 31 doesn't actually differ much from a level of 30. As long as Mou pleased it by feeding it with delicious food, the viridescent eagle might still come back to her. The saying that a savage beast recognized only a single master in their entire life is actually just a general statement. Legend has it that the truly formidable beast tamers are able to tame another person's tamed beast with just a few words, even if it has already established a contract with another tamer. Putting everything else aside, the very fact that Zhang Xian managed to tame Mou's viridescent eagle proved that it wasn't entirely impossible. Since it has changed sides once, it is possible for it to do so once again. A maximum of 31. Mou's anger still wasn't placated. Indeed, how loyal can a savage beast who was tamed through brute force be? Does this even need to be said? Zhu Jinhuang sneered coldly. Yet, before he could finish his words, he suddenly felt a tightening sensation on his arm. What's wrong? Turning around to look, it was Zhou Xian who had grabbed him. Look, Zhou Xian's lips were quivering. Following the direction where he was pointing in, Zhu Jinhuang took a glance and all of the words he was about to spout vanished. In an instant, he felt tears threatening to spill from his eyes. Numbers had appeared on the Heart Inquisition crystal. Loyalty level of the viridescent eagle toward Zhang Xian, 45. Complete submission, the highest realm possible. Complete silence. Everyone's jaws fell to the ground. Actually, Zhou Xian and Zhu Jinhuang weren't the only ones who thought so. Everyone also felt that the loyalty level of the viridescent eagle would be low, given that it was beaten into submission. Yet never had they imagined that it would reach 45. This was complete submission, the highest level of loyalty a savage beast could have. Countless beast tamers had lived together with their savage beasts for numerous years, but remained unable to induce such loyalty in their savage beast yet. This level was reached just by giving a round of beating. Everyone felt their perspective of the world overturn. This should be considered as a pass, right? Seeing the number on the Heart Inquisition crystal, Zhang Xian wasn't surprised at all. He turned to look at Hall Master Feng with a smile. In the first round of the theoretical examination, you passed the discourse without making any mistakes. In the second round, you managed to tame a viridescent eagle with a loyalty level of 45, Hall Master Feng nodded his head. I declare that Zhang Xian has passed the Beast Tamer examination and that he is officially a 1-star Beast Tamer. Seeing that he had passed the examination, Zhang Xian nodded his head in satisfaction. With this identity, he would be exempted from paying for future rides on Ariel's savage beasts borrowed from the Beast Hall. Wait a moment. The moment Hall Master Feng finished announcing the result, a bellow sounded. What's wrong, Beast Tamer Mo? Hall Master Feng turned to look at her. The one who spoke was Mou. She had passed the examination, thus he addressed her as a Beast Tamer to display his respect. I disagree with the results. I believe that he hasn't fulfilled the criteria of the examination and thus, he isn't qualified to become an official beast tamer. Mou stepped forward and spoke. Oh. Hall Master Feng frowned. For the beast tamer examination, one has to tame a savage beast stronger than him. Even though Zhang Xian didn't display his cultivation, given how he was able to defeat the viridescent eagle easily, his cultivation realm is most likely higher than it. At the minimum, he is probably at Tongxian realm pinnacle. Mou sneered coldly, meaning to say. Even though he tamed the viridescent eagle, he had merely tamed a savage beast with a cultivation realm lower than him. With this, he doesn't meet the required conditions, and thus, he shouldn't pass. This, upon hearing her words, Hall Master Feng hesitated. The situation was exactly as what the other party said. The conditions for the savage beast tamed for the examination is that its cultivation realm has to be higher than the examinee. Zhou Xian, Zhu Jinhuang, and Yun Tao had fulfilled this condition. In the previous battle, Zhang Xian relied solely on his physical body strength, and as such, the others weren't able to see through his cultivation realm. Even so, given how he was able to defeat the viridescent eagle so easily, there was no doubt that his cultivation realm was above that of the viridescent eagle. Going by the usual practice, Zhang Xian wasn't yet qualified to become a beast tamer. You mean to say I am unqualified to become a beast tamer because the savage beast I tamed has a cultivation realm lower than mine? Zhang Xian glanced at her. Yes. Mou replied coldly. Then, what if this viridescent eagle isn't at Tongxian realm, but at Half-Zhizun? Does this mean that I've passed the examination? Zhang Xian asked. Of course. Mou nodded. Even though she didn't know how strong the other party was, she didn't think that he had reached Half-Zhizun. Good, nodding his head, Zhang Xian turned to the viridescent eagle and said, all right, it's your turn. Chio. Following a piercing call, a powerful force suddenly burst forth from the massive body of the viridescent eagle. Chapter 253, You Are a Master Teacher. Boom. At this moment, the viridescent eagle seemed like a bomb that is about to explode at any moment. The sound reminiscent of flowing water sounded from its body, and its numerous acupoints were flickering, as though a powerful energy was gushing into them. Jai. Jai. The sound within its body crescendoed, and its 3-meter-tall body grew suddenly. At the same time, its feathers also extended outward. Is this bloodline evolution? Is it breaking through its cultivation realm? Hall Master Feng narrowed his eyes. Coming to the same conclusion as well, Beast Tamer Lu and Beast Tamer Wang's faces grew red with agitation, and they clenched their fists tightly. Bloodline evolution? What's that? Someone asked doubtfully. Not everyone in the room was a beast tamer, such as the guards of Yun Tao, Zhu Jinhuang, and Zhou Xian. They didn't have a complete knowledge of beast taming. The strength of a savage beast is affected by several factors, and of which, there are three which is the most commonly seen. Firstly, age. A savage beast would grow along with age, reaching the peak of its strength only when it reaches adulthood. This is also the most common limiting factor of a savage beast's strength. Secondly, bloodline. The more powerful a savage beast's bloodline is, the more potential it has. Even when it reaches adulthood, if its bloodline is sufficiently potent, it can continue to raise its cultivation. Thirdly, cultivation techniques. Some of the more intelligent savage beasts are capable of cultivating alongside their beast tamers and improve along with them. One of the more knowledgeable people in the room replied him with a hushed voice. Usually, it is impossible for a savage beast to improve its bloodline. However, sometimes upon eating unique herbs or undergoing an exceptional experience, it is possible for a savage beast's bloodline to break through its limits and reach higher levels. As its bloodline evolves, its cultivation also breaks through its limit and reach higher realms. This kind of evolution is similar to mutation and is extremely rare. To think that the viridescent eagle would be so lucky as to chance on such an opportunity. It's truly lucky. Along with the bloodline evolution, its cultivation soars rapidly. Will this viridescent eagle really reach Half-Zhizun? If it succeeds to reach Half-Zhizun, it would mean that Zhang Xian has successfully tamed a Half-Zhizun savage beast. If so, he would meet the conditions for the test, thus passing the beast tamer examination. Upon hearing the explanation, everyone came to a realization. This is impossible. Upon witnessing such a situation right after challenging Zhang Xian's qualification, Mou's face turned red. She was on the verge of going insane. This viridescent eagle was her tamed beast, and she had investigated its background clearly. It had become an adult and it hadn't eaten any precious herbs that could possibly trigger a bloodline evolution. As such, it should have been impossible for such a situation to occur. Yet, right after being beaten up by Zhang Xian, not only was its cultivation raised, its bloodline even evolved. You must be joking with me. If I knew that it would undergo bloodline evolution, would have never given you a chance to tame it. A Half-Zhizun realm savage beast once tamed, one can cultivate along with it. It would be much easier for her to reach Half-Zhizun with its assistance, yet she gave away this opportunity just like that. She felt so stifled that she was about to go insane. Mou Xiaojie, can it be that fellow's beating which triggered the viridescent eagle's bloodline to evolve, resulting in the rise in its cultivation? Zhu Jinhuang asked. That's impossible. Before Mou could reply, Zhou Xian shook his head. Usually, a bloodline evolution can only be triggered by consuming precious herbs or blood essences left behind by powerful savage beasts and purifying its bloodline. How can it achieve a breakthrough just by undergoing a beating? Bloodline evolution requires a huge amount of luck to occur. Regardless of whether a savage beast consumed a precious herb or the blood essence of a powerful savage beast, it has to be completely compatible with the savage beast for it to work. The success rate is below 1 in 10,000. The concept of its bloodline evolving through a beating is a joke. Zhou Xian is right. No matter how capable that fellow is, it is impossible for him to purify the viridescent eagle's bloodline and trigger a bloodline evolution just by beating it. The only explanation is that the viridescent eagle had consumed something special before coming here, and that it began to take effect here. Agreeing with Zhou Xian's words, Mou nodded her head. If I'm not wrong, it might be the bewildering soul flower that I fed it before coming here. I heard that it is a tonic to the viridescent eagle, and I had specially spent a huge sum of money to purchase it for the purpose of taming the eagle. Recalling the price of the bewildering soul flower, she felt her heart ache. Just as she was gritting her teeth in resentment, she saw Yun Tao walk over, muttering something beneath his breath. As expected of Elder Zhang Xian. Any savage beast which he beats up experiences a bloodline evolution. It was the same for the gold-alloyed panther and the ancient lightning cloud sparrow as well. I thought that it was just a coincidence, but to think that this viridescent eagle has achieved a breakthrough as well. What did you say? Upon hearing his words, Mou swallowed back the words at the tip of her tongue. With widened eyes, she stared at Yun Tao. Oh, nothing much. I am just impressed by Elder Zhang Xian. You have all seen his gold-alloyed panther as well. It should have been a Pishue realm savage beast, but it has already reached Tongxian realm. The ancient lightning cloud sparrow was also merely a Pishue realm primary stage savage beast, but at this moment, it has reached intermediate stage all because of Elder Zhang's beating. Yun Tao replied seriously. After being beaten up, not only is he able to get the savage beast to submit, he can trigger a bloodline evolution as well. Mou, Zhu Jinhuang, Zhou Xian, and the others felt themselves entering a frenzy. Why do Yun Tao's words seem so incredulous? This was especially so for Mou. It hadn't been long since she declared that it was due to her bewildering soul flower that the viridescent eagle was able to achieve a breakthrough. Upon hearing Yun Tao's words, she felt a stinging sensation on her face. Who is she? An incredible genius. Even considering the entire Beast Hall and Tianwu Kingdom, she belonged to the very top. Being awarded a grade 1 in the Beast Tamer examination, she outshone everyone. But while she was still gleeful over this feat, this fellow tamed her savage beast, pummeled it, and even helped it achieve a breakthrough. Are you sure your purpose here isn't to humiliate me? Otherwise, why would you disprove every single word that I say? Boom. Amidst everyone's shock and frenzy, the viridescent eagle's rising aura finally came to a standstill. At this moment, its physique was significantly larger than how it was previously, reaching a height of 4 meters. At the same time, it emanated a much more powerful aura than before. It felt as if with a slight scratch of its claws, cracks would appear on the bluestone ground. Half-Zhizun. This viridescent eagle has actually reached Half-Zhizun. So have I passed the examination? Zhang Xian smiled. You pass. The 3 beast tamers nodded. If this can't be considered a pass, what can? Besides, they were also overflowing with doubts. Mou might not be able clearly to tell what Zhang Xian did, but as 2-star beast tamers, they could tell that the bloodline evolution of the viridescent eagle was Zhang Xian's credit. To trigger a bloodline evolution within a savage beast, if he can do this for any savage beast, it will definitely cause an uproar in the Beast Hall. At this point, Hall Master Feng couldn't hold himself back anymore. Clasping his fists, he said, Beast Tamer Zhang, I have something I would like to ask. I know what you want to ask. Are you curious why this viridescent eagle would suddenly undergo a bloodline evolution? Zhang Xian looked at him. Yes. Hall Master Feng replied. Hearing the exchange between the two, the others immediately focused their attention here. After beating up the viridescent eagle, not only did it submit, it even underwent a bloodline evolution. If they hadn't witnessed this sight for themselves, they would never have believed it to be possible. Everyone was dying to know what happened. It's simple. I used the blood essence of the ancient lightning cloud sparrow as a bait to induce its submission. Then I fed the blood essence to it, thus triggering the blood evolution. Zhang Xian said. Inducing a breakthrough in a savage beast was no easy feat. If others were to know that Zhang Xian's Xinqi could trigger a bloodline evolution, it would bring him a whole lot of trouble. Thus, he attributed the matter to the ancient lightning cloud sparrow. In any case, there were precedents of savage beast consuming the blood essence of powerful savage beasts and achieving breakthroughs as an ancient beast. The ancient lightning cloud sparrow possessed a pure bloodline. Even though the viridescent eagle had a massive physique, it was nevertheless considered as an avian. There was a possibility that the bloodline of the ancient sparrow might be compatible with the eagle. However, if someone else wanted to try the same thing, Zhang Xian wouldn't take the blame if their tamed beast dies. More importantly, the ancient cloud lightning sparrow was Yun Tao's savage beast. Even if anything happened, Zhang Xian wouldn't be held responsible. Since that fellow obtained a free ancient beast from him, he should at least contribute by becoming his whipping boy. So that's the case. Upon hearing his explanation, Hall Master Feng and the others exchanged gazes and nodded their heads. This seemed to be the only plausible explanation. Otherwise, to achieve a breakthrough by receiving a beating, it sounded nonsensical no matter how they looked at it. It's the ancient lightning cloud sparrow. Upon hearing the explanation, Mou came to a realization. At the same time, she felt intense regret. If she knew that the ancient lightning cloud sparrow could help trigger a bloodline evolution in the viridescent eagle, she would have tried to get close to Zhang Xian and Yun Tao. It could have been the final trigger for her to achieve advanced taming. But now, she has nothing left. Her savage beast was completely tamed by the other party, and the loyalty level was at an astonishing 45. Even though he said, borrow, it was unlikely that he would return it. To be able to recognize the ancient lightning cloud sparrow and possess so many means, can it be? Upon recalling something, Mu hesitated for a moment before walking over to Zhang Xian. Damn it! Seeing numerous emotions flicker across Mou's face and her walking toward Zhang Xian, Zhou Xian and Zhu Jinhuang clenched their fists tightly. They had been completely outdone by this fellow this time. Needless to say, Mou must have fallen for him. I heard that this fellow came from Tianxian Kingdom and doesn't have any strong backing. If things come down to this, Zhu Jinhuang gestured his intentions to murder Zhang Xian. Given that Yun Tao was the prince of a country, they didn't dare to push things too far. However, Zhang Xian was different. As an insignificant figure without any backing, his life and death meant nothing. They might not be a match for the other party, but as princes of their kingdoms, it wasn't difficult for them to gather a few powerful subordinates to deal with him. All right. Zhou Xian spat through gritted teeth. Today, they were completely humiliated by that young lad. It would be hard to quench their anger if they didn't get back at him. To dare to offend two princes without having any backing, he is truly courting death. The duo was discussing how they could murder this Zhang Xian when Mou was already right before Zhang Xian. With glowing eyes, she spoke of her doubt. The essence blood of the ancient lightning cloud sparrow is probably just one of the contributing factors. There should be a more important reason behind its breakthrough. If I'm not wrong, you are a master teacher, right? Master teacher. Upon hearing Mou's words, Zhou Xian and Zhu Jinhuang, who were just discussing how they could kill Zhang Xian, shivered uncontrollably. At that moment, they could no longer hold themselves back and cried. Those two fools had actually intended to kill a master teacher. They sure are brazen. The heck, didn't they say that he doesn't have any backing? But his backing seems to be even greater than the heavens. Chapter 254, Critically Ill Savage Beast Master Teachers are protected by the Teacher Guild and the Master Teacher Pavilion. Putting aside whether they would be able to get off with assassinating a master teacher, even if they were to just offend one, a sanction may be imposed on them. Given their power and prestige of the, almost all powers and experts have no choice but to show respect to the Teacher Guild and the Master Teacher Pavilion, needless to say, a mere Tier 2 kingdom. Even if the sanction was applied on a Tier 1 kingdom like Tianwu Kingdom, it would merely be a matter of time before the country fell apart. That was to say, if they were to attempt to assassinate a master teacher and be discovered, not only would they be killed, even their kingdom would be implicated. This is how fearsome master teachers are. The #1 occupation in the world mustn't be insulted or desecrated. Regardless of emperors or sect leaders, regardless of how powerful or influential one can be, with a single word from the Master Teacher Pavilion, his existence would be erased. It was said that an emperor of a conferred kingdom once teased a beautiful female master teacher, incurring her wrath. Without even using the power of the Master Teacher Pavilion, simply just by conducting a lecture on the same spot for 7 days straight, she attracted countless experts, and with a single command, captured the emperor alive and beat him to death. There was a very powerful old elder in the kingdom, and he could have stopped them. Yet, he dared not to do so. When an emperor dies, another one can be appointed. But if a kingdom were to be destroyed, nothing would be left. It was hard to tell how many students a master teacher could have. With just a single pointer, one can already be regarded as half a teacher. Thus, master teachers were thought to be beehives. If a person were to agitate them, he would be crippled even if he were to survive the ordeal. Assassinating a master teacher, honestly speaking, it was no different from courting death. Zhu Jinhuang and the others trembled in fear. He immediately suppressed the thoughts in his head. Master teacher. Not expecting Mou to come to this conclusion, Zhang Xian shook his head. I'm not one yet. Even though he was acknowledged by 3 master teachers, he could only be considered as one of the more incredible master teacher apprentices. Since he hasn't passed the master teacher examination yet, he couldn't be considered as a master teacher. You aren't? Mou was stunned. She thought that the reason why the other party possessed such formidable means was that he was a master teacher. To think that he wasn't one, he isn't a master teacher. Great, as long as he isn't a master teacher, he must die by hook or by crook. Upon hearing Zhang Xian confess that he wasn't a master teacher, Zhou Xian and Zhu Jinhuang, who were panicking a moment ago, heaved a sigh of relief. Their killing intent started to emerge once more. But in the next moment, Shen Bairu's voice rang. Although Zhang Laoshi isn't a master teacher, he is a senior to Beiwu Kingdom's Lu Shi, Zhuang Shi, and Hanwu Kingdom's Zheng Shi. The senior of 3 master teachers? The duo stared at one another. This time, they really burst into tears. As princes from Tier 2 kingdoms, they have heard of the name of the 3 master teachers. They were considered as one of the top-notch figures in the Tier 2 kingdoms, and even the lowest of men knew of their existence. And Zhang Xian was their senior. Even if he wasn't a master teacher, his standing was already way above that of a master teacher. It was fortunate that they didn't make a move. Otherwise, the one who would die by hook or by crook would be them too. I know Lu Shi from Beiwu Kingdom, and I've met him once at 2-star master teacher Jiang Shu's lecture. If you're his senior, can it be? Upon hearing Shen Bairu's words, Mou immediately realized something and her eyes narrowed. Given that he was the senior of a master teacher, it meant that they have the same teacher. For a person to make a master teacher willingly acknowledge him as his teacher, that person had to be at least a 2-star master teacher, or even above that. For Zhang Xian to be the direct disciple of a master teacher of 2-star or higher, his standing was even above that of hers, a princess of Tianwu Kingdom. Furthermore, to be accepted as a direct disciple of such an incredible figure meant that Zhang Xian possessed incredible potential. It was likely that his future achievements would far surpass hers. After all, even though she was an apprentice of 2-star master teacher Jiang Shu, she wasn't his direct disciple. Upon realizing these, she glanced at the young man before her once more. This time, admiration could be seen in her gaze. So you're a direct disciple of a master teacher, no wonder you have such an in-depth understanding of beast taming. Upon coming to a realization, Hall Master Feng and the others nodded their heads. They were just about to ask Zhang Xian about the beast pummeling taming method and learn it from him. However, upon knowing of his true identity, they immediately dispelled this thought. Even though beast taming was an occupation in the upper 9 paths, it was far from matching up to Master Teacher, who stood at the zenith. It was likely that Zhang Xian's beast pummeling taming method came from that master teacher. If the other party were to find out that they had tried to learn his skills from his direct disciple, they could be in trouble. Rather than that, it was much wiser to just build a good relationship with Zhang Xian. This is your 1-star beast tamer emblem. Upon knowing of Zhang Xian's identity, the attitude of the 3 master teachers immediately improved. They swiftly retrieved an emblem representing one's identity as a beast tamer and presented it to Zhang Xian. Upon grabbing the emblem, Zhang Xian casually placed it into his storage ring before asking. I would like to go to the Red Lotus Ridge and I need an aerial savage beast. What do you think I should do? Even though he had become a beast tamer and read a large collection of books on beast taming, he had never ridden on an aerial savage beast before, and there might be a difference between theories in the book and practical situations. As such, he hoped to receive some professional input. Red Lotus Ridge. Hall Master Feng stroked his beard as he calculated, Tianwu Kingdom is around tens of thousands of kilometers from here. If you ride on the viridescent eagle which you've just tamed, it should take around half a month. Half a month? Zhang Xian was taken aback. He thought that since the viridescent eagle had reached Half-Zhizun, the journey should only take a couple of days. The thought that he would still require half a month never crossed his mind. That's right. This viridescent eagle has just achieved a breakthrough, and its cultivation hasn't yet stabilized. At most, it can travel 4000 to 5000 kilometers per day. Furthermore, it has to take frequent rest, so it is unable to fly overnight. Therefore, half a month is the fastest that it can go. Hall Master Feng said. Zhang Xian nodded. Even though he didn't know how fast the viridescent eagle could fly, given how it had just reached Half-Zhizun, it was unlikely that it was able to unleash the full strength of the realm. In addition, it has to stabilize its cultivation and adapt to its new strength. As such, the estimate of half a month made sense. After hesitating for a moment, Zhang Xian recalled what Han Qiong said before and asked. I've heard that the Beast Hall have lightning mounts, which travel at swift speeds and are able to easily cover distances of tens of thousands of kilometers within a few days. May I ask if that's true? The Beast Hall does have lightning mounts, which are Zhongshe realm savage beasts. They are given the nickname of lightning due to the swift speed at which it can ferry humans. However, Hall Master Feng hesitated for a moment before speaking. There are only 2 such beast mounts in the Beast Hall. One of which is on the way to Qianxua Kingdom, while the other one, at this point, he shook his head. The other 2 beast tamers beside him also seemed to be dispirited upon talking about this matter. What's wrong? Zhang Xian became puzzled after seeing their strange expressions. The other lightning mount has become critically ill. Today, it was unable to even stand up, needless to say, fly. Just earlier today, Beast Tamer Lu, and Beast Tamer Wang were examining it to identify possible treatments. That is also the reason why we weren't able to make it for the examination and had Beast Tamer Hong stand in for us. Hall Master Feng said. Critically ill? At this point, Zhang Xian suddenly recalled Beast Tamer Hong saying that Hall Master Feng and the others were busy with something and as such, they were unable to make it for the examination. A while ago, he was wondering what could be more important than the Beast Tamer examination. Turns out, this was the matter they were attending to. The Zhongshe realm savage beast could be considered as the trump card of this beast hall. Given that it was too ill to even stand up, it was no wonder why they were feeling flustered. What illness is it? Zhang Xian asked. The condition of the savage beast didn't matter to him at all. What Zhang Xian was concerned with was how much time he could save if he flew on that lightning mount. Upon hearing his question, Hall Master Feng shook his head. It's precisely because we can't tell what's wrong that we're helpless on this matter. The 3 of us had used all kinds of beast tamer diagnosing methods, but we remain unable to tell what's wrong. Beast Tamer Lu smiled bitterly. Since they were unable to even tell what illness it was, they were, naturally, unable to treat it. Is there any solution? Mou could not help but ask. As a beast tamer, she was concerned over the health of the savage beast after hearing about its plight. We've already sent someone to Beiwu Kingdom to invite Grandmaster Qing over. Perhaps he would be able to diagnose the root of the illness. Beast Tamer Wang said. Grandmaster Qing. Is Beast Tamer Wang talking about the only 2-star physician in Beiwu Kingdom? Shen Bairu pondered for a moment before asking. That's right. Even though we, beast tamers, do possess methods to diagnose and treat the illnesses of savage beasts, we are still far from matching up to real physicians. I've already sent someone to invite him, so he should be arriving soon. Beast Tamer Wang smiled. Even though beast tamers have their own methods to treat savage beast illnesses, their treatment methods mainly catered to common symptoms. They were helpless toward the more complicated illnesses, such as the one the lightning mount was afflicted with at the moment. The only option for them was to employ the help of a Grandmaster physician. Beiwu Kingdom wasn't too far from the Beast Hall, and a roundabout trip on an aerial savage beast wouldn't take more than 2 hours. Since they were waiting for the arrival of Grandmaster Qing, they decided to spectate the Beast Tamer examination and happened to witness the conflict between Zhang Xian and Beast Tamer Hong. Beast Tamer Wang seemed to be extremely confident in that physician named Qing, and turning toward Zhang Xian, he smiled. as soon as its illness is cured, we can lend it to you for a trip to the Red Lotus Ridge. However, the price for riding on a Zhongshe Realm beast mount is quite steep. You will have to prepare yourself for it. How much does it cost? Zhang Xian asked. According to the price of the beast hall, a journey to the faraway Tianwu kingdom on a Zhongshe Realm savage beast would require at least 20 beast bloodstone. As Beast Tamer Zhang is one of our members, we can give you a 20% discount, thus you will only require 16 beast bloodstone. In terms of common currency used in the kingdoms, it is around 8 million gold coins. 8 million gold coins? Zhang Xian widened his eyes in shock. In order to earn that sum, he had to disguise himself and work himself down to the bones. Yet, it cost so much money just to make a single trip that was no different from daylight robbery. There's no way around it. A Zhongshe Realm savage beast requires a 2-star beast tamer to drive it. Furthermore, you are riding it as an individual. This is already the lowest price we can give you. Beast Tamer Wang smiled bitterly. Even though the Zhongshe Realm lightning mount had been tamed, it was impossible for one to drive it without sufficient expertise. Thus, a 2-star beast tamer had to tag along for the ride. Beast tamers who have reached 2 stars were at least Zhongshe Realm. That is to say, for a single trip, a Zhongshe Realm expert and Zhongshe Realm savage beast have to be mobilized. Thus, how can the price possibly be low? One must know that a Zhongshe Realm expert can be considered as a stabilizing pillar in a Tier 2 kingdom. 8 million gold coins weren't demanding too much given that a person of such immense standing would have to be mobilized. Even so, Zhang Xian still found the price hard to accept. Didn't you say that beast tamers can ride on beast mounts for free? Suppressing his dismal, Zhang Xian asked. The reason why he took the beast tamer examination was that Yun Tao said that he could ride for free. Yet, it turned out that he has to pay 8 million. He felt depressed just by thinking about it. A 1-star beast tamer can only ride on aerial savage beasts below Zhongshe Realm for free. If he wishes to ride on Zhongshe Realm savage beasts for free, he has to be a 2-star beast tamer. Seeing that Zhang Xian was ignorant of the matter, Hall Master Feng explained. A 2-star beast tamer can ride on the lightning mount for free? After hesitating for a moment, Zhang Xian asked, if that's the case, what's the requirement for the 2-star beast tamer examination? I'll try challenging the examination. Chapter 255, Grandmaster Qing Yang try challenging the examination. The corner of the mouths of Hall Master Feng and the others twitched. Of the countless examinees who had ever taken an examination in the Beast Hall, this was the most eccentric reason they have ever heard. Most people took the Beast Tamer examination because their capability and strength had met the basic requirements, and they hoped to receive recognition. Yet, this fellow was doing it just so that his ride would be free. You are a senior to master teachers. With such incredible capability, as long as you are willing to put in some effort, you should be able to earn a few million gold coins easily. To act like that just for some money, where is your pride? Where is your dignity? What about your standing? More importantly, the examination he wanted to take was the 2-star beast tamer examination. In the 1,000 years since the establishment of the Xianluo Mountain Range Beast Hall, there hadn't been more than 10 2-star beast tamer. Try challenging the examination. You make it sound as though it is as easy as eating and drinking, and there's nothing to be scared or nervous about. Do you know the difficulty of the examination? Do you know that an expert like Beast Tamer Hong has already failed it 7 times? To speak of the matter so casually, aren't you underestimating the profession a little too much? Mo's chest expanded and contracted violently. She was close to bursting into a rage. Despite being one of the top geniuses in Tianwu Kingdom, she spent a year before achieving the status of a 1-star beast tamer. She thought that she would win the admiration of everyone here, but she met this fellow. It took her countless resources, coaxing, and pleading to achieve inceptive taming with the viridescent eagle. Yet, just by beating it up, the viridescent eagle submitted completely to the other party. He had just passed the 1-star beast tamer examination, yet he wasn't satisfied and wanted to take on the 2-star beast tamer examination immediately. It was one thing if Zhang Xian had built up a solid foundation and wanted to take on both examination at once to amaze others. However, he obviously didn't have such intentions beforehand. It was only after hearing that he would get to ride on the lightning mount for free did he have such thoughts. Other people tire themselves to death in order to become a 2-star beast tamer, yet you regard it as though a walk in the park. You don't have to demoralize others like that, do you? The 2-star beast tamer examination requires suppressing the stifling sensation in his chest. Half-Master Feng was just about to start explaining when an elder abruptly walked in with an agitated expression. Half-Master, Half-Master. Grandmaster Qing Yang is here. He's here. The eyes of the 3 beast tamers lit up immediately. They stood up in a hurry and walked out without saying a word. After taking a few steps, Half-Master Feng abruptly stopped. He turned around and said, "Since you are all official beast tamers already, you are qualified to examine the proceedings as well. This is a good opportunity for you to spectate how a Grandmaster physician treats a Zhongshe realm savage beast and build on your knowledge." "Yes." Mou, Zhu Jinhuang, and the others nodded their heads and followed along. "Elder, let's take a look as well. It's a rare opportunity to witness the treatment of a savage beast, and we might be able to learn a thing or two from it." Seeing the others walk into the distance, Yun Tao walked over to Zhang Xian. "All right." Zhang Xian nodded his head. He had been wanting to ride on the lightning mount all along. Once that fellow was treated, he would be able to save considerable time and effort for his journey to the Red Lotus Ridge. Following behind the crowd, he soon arrived at a giant courtyard. It was large and vast, and the infrastructures were several times larger than those of an ordinary residence. It felt as if one had stepped into a country of giants. The stone stools in the courtyard were all 7 to 8 meters wide. If one didn't examine it carefully, he might even think that it was a stage. The stone pavement by the courtyard was also extremely wide, around several dozens of meters large. There was a pond at the center of the courtyard, and the entire place felt like a majestic palace. This is the residence specially built for the Steel Fang Howling Firmament Beast. There are 7 apprentice beast tamers who live together with it to manage its day-to-day necessities. Upon seeing Zhang Xian's bewildered expression, Yun Tao explained to him telepathically. The Steel Fang Howling Firmament Beast is the Il Zhongshe Realm Savage Beast. A residence built specially for a savage beast? Zhang Xian was dumbfounded. Does it have to be so extravagant? Regardless of the land area or the grandeur of the infrastructure, it was a match for Tianxian Royal Palace. As such, Zhang Xian thought that an important figure lived in the residence. Yet, to think that it was built specially for a savage beast. Furthermore, 7 apprentice beast tamers were assigned to it to take care of its day-to-day living. The privileges it enjoyed seemed to be beyond that of an ordinary expert. It was no wonder why a single trip to Tianwu Kingdom would cost 8 million gold coins. Without such fees, it was impossible to sustain the cost of housing it. "Grandmaster Qing Yang, we will be depending on you." Zhang Xian was lamenting how the living conditions of a savage beast surpassed even that of a human when Half-Master Feng's excited voice sounded. Glancing over, Zhang Xian saw a tall elder dressed in green standing not too far away. With his hands behind his back, he exuded a distant aura that seemed to ward off strangers. Judging from his appearance, he seemed to be in his 50s. And without any emotions on his face, it was difficult to fathom what was going on in his mind. He appears to be the legendary Grandmaster physician Qing Yang. Usually, a 1-star for any occupation would be addressed as a master while a 2-star would be addressed as Grandmaster. Grandmaster Qing Yang, as a 2-star physician, was clearly much more capable than Master Yuanyu. "All right. Where's the Howling Firmament Beast? Bring me to it." Nodding at Half-Master Feng's words, Grandmaster Qing Yang dived straight into the matter at hand. "Yes, over here." Half-Master Feng led the way. Soon, they arrived at the backyard. A humongous savage beast could be seen lying on a massive stone pedestal. Its eyes were tightly shut, and it was hard to tell whether it was alive. This savage beast bore some resemblance to the viridescent eagle but was significantly larger. With a physique of 12 meters wide, it looked like a small mountain from afar. Unconscious. With a single glance, Zhang Xian could tell that the humongous fellow was in a comatose. It was no wonder why Half-Master Feng and the others were in such a panic, rushing off upon hearing that Grandmaster Qing had arrived. It seemed that the howling firmament beast was truly in a critical condition. Grandmaster Qing, the illness struck 3 days ago. Initially, it only refused food, and the condition didn't seem to be serious, so we didn't pay it much attention. But this morning, it passed out all of a sudden. We've tried several methods to wake it up, but it was futile, Half-Master Feng explained. Nodding, Grandmaster Qing stepped forward. He circled around the howling firmament beast, and the more he walked, the darker his complexion became. Tell me about its recent diet. Half-Master Feng beckoned, and an apprentice beast tamer who was in charge of waiting on howling firmament beast walked over and bowed respectfully. 10 days ago, the howling firmament beast started to lose his appetite, and it seemed to have become slightly agitated. As it is the dry season of autumn and it is easy for internal heat to accumulate, we fed it the calming, spirit rejuvenation water, and its symptoms were somewhat alleviated. However, something remained amiss with its situation. It would thrash around the residence at night, and from time to time, it would howl toward the sky. Especially, in the past few days, when there was a full moon present, it stayed up all night, running about, as though it was trying to look for an outlet for its inexhaustible energy. Yet, when it wakes up, it would lose all appetite, and nothing can catch its attention. Today, it even fainted. The amount of food it consumed has been decreasing constantly through the days, and other than the cooked beast meat and porridge, it doesn't eat anything else. Oh, abiding by Half-Master Feng's words, it was fed too, heat dissipation pill, yesterday, but it seemed to be ineffective. On the contrary, its condition seemed to have worsened. Very quick, the apprentice beast tamer conveyed the basic condition of the howling firmament beast. After which, Grandmaster Qing nodded and waved his hands, you can leave now. Yes. Not daring to say anything else, the apprentice turned around and left. How is it? Half-Master Feng asked. Wait a moment. Grandmaster Qing didn't explain anything. Instead, he continued circling around the steel-fang howling firmament beast. In the midst, he plucked a strand of fur and pulled up its eyelids. A deep frown was etched on his forehead, and he seemed to be trying to deduce the condition. Can physicians treat savage beasts too? Seeing Grandmaster Qing in deep thoughts, Zhang Xian asked. Grandmaster Qing is the best Grandmaster physician in Beiwu Kingdom. It's said that he has already reached 2-star pinnacle, and is just a step away from reaching 3-star. Many of the illnesses which the beast hall was stumped by was treated by him. Yun Tao said with a suppressed voice. The fundamental theories behind illnesses, be it for a human or a beast, are the same. Since he is able to treat humans, naturally, he is able to treat beasts as well. Otherwise, how can physicians, despite their lacking combat ability, be ranked among the top of the upper 9 paths? Hearing their conversation, Mou interjected. Without a doubt, the master teacher was the #1 occupation among the upper 9 paths. On the other hand, the rankings for the other occupations were blurred, and there wasn't a standardized ranking. Even so, apothecary, physician, formation master, and beast tamer were commonly accepted to be the few occupations which ranked at the front, and their practitioners were highly respected. Compared to formation master and beast tamer, physician, as an occupation, possessed no fighting ability at all. However, it was able to be ranked alongside them because their capability extended beyond just treating humans. Aren't you skilled in beast taming? I thought that you are knowledgeable in everything. Why, do you know nothing about the way of medicine? Seeing Zhang Xian's confused expression, Mou lifted her head haughtily. Aren't you formidable, taming a savage beast just by beating it up. Yet, to know nothing about the way of medicine. You shouldn't have acted so arrogantly. Embarrassed now, aren't you? Hearing the other party words, Zhang Xian smiled awkwardly. The books on the way of medicine in Tianxian Kingdom were far too lacking, and the only physician he knew was Master Yuanyu. Furthermore, he had merely conversed with him on painting. As such, Zhang Xian didn't know much about physician as an occupation. This was the first time he heard that a physician could treat savage beasts as well. Not only is Mou Xiaojie a one-star beast tamer, one-star apothecary, and a master teacher apprentice, she is an apprentice physician as well. Yun Tao whispered to Zhang Xian with a hushed voice. His admiration for Mou gleamed in his eyes. Apprentice physician? Zhang Xian was taken aback. Even though this Mou was rather arrogant, she did have the achievements to back it up. Despite her young age, she was adept in numerous occupations. Of all of the people Zhang Xian had met, she was probably the most talented one. There are some points of overlap between a physician and an apothecary, so I went ahead to learn a little. For me, it isn't difficult at all. After this, I'll be returning to Tianwu Kingdom to take the physician examination. Mou chuckled lightly. For what seemed to be an incredibly profound occupation in the eyes of others, to Mou, it was as simple as playing house. She had always towered over others as a genius, but over here, she had been humiliated time and again because of this Zhang Xian. Thus, upon seeing that the other party knew nothing about physicians, she decided to leverage this fact against the other party and rebuild her confidence. She thought that she could win his admiration just by saying so, but when she turned to look at him, he had already disappeared from sight. Damn it! Stomping her feet, her face flushed with anger. Did you manage to diagnose anything? Seeing a deep frown on Grandmaster Qing Yang's forehead, Hall Master Feng asked once more. I have a rough idea on its condition now. I should be able to deduce what it's suffering from. Grandmaster Qing Yang nodded. Halfway through his words, his face suddenly darkened and he bellowed, "What are you doing?" Hearing his voice, everyone turned their gazes over. Unknowingly, a youngster was already standing before the howling firmament beast. After stretching his hands over, he touched its head. Internal heat is a concept of traditional Chinese medicine. It is normally associated with a body's discomfort and various symptoms. Chapter 256, I said that you are an inept physician. Seeing the actions of the youngster, everyone became dumbfounded. Isn't this fellow too brazen? Don't you see that the Grandmaster physician is examining the howling firmament beast? Why did you come over? Furthermore, this is a steel fang howling firmament beast, a Zhongshe realm savage beast, not your family's pet. Touching it as if it were a domesticated dog, what in the world are you up to? I, too, would like to take a look to see what this steel fang howling firmament beast is suffering from. Seeing the doubt in everyone's eyes, the youngster turned around and smiled. Humph. Hearing his words, Mou harumphed. She recognized the person as soon as he turned around. It was the person who had been embarrassing her time and time again, Zhang Xian. No wonder he disappeared just now. He had headed forward to touch the howling firmament beast. Hall Master Feng invited us over to view how Grandmaster Qing Yang would treat the savage beast. We're here to learn, so we should remain obediently at our spots and observe the proceedings quietly. Yet, to interrupt the other party's diagnosis, why the heck are you trying to touch it? Aren't you asking for a scolding? As expected, the moment this thought appeared in her mind, Grandmaster Qing Yang's face steeled and his eyes narrowed. Audacious. Flinging his sleeves, he turned to Hall Master Feng and criticized sharply, "Is this how the people in the Beast Hall act? Are they usually this undisciplined? Take a look, does he even know what he is looking at? To be touching around so casually despite knowing nothing at all, how conceited can one be? Grandmaster, calm down. He didn't do it intentionally. He is probably just worried about the howling firmament beast, not expecting Zhang Xian to act so rashly so as to run forward to touch the howling firmament beast. Hall Master Feng tried to placate Grandmaster Qing Yang immediately. After years of working together, you should know that I need absolute silence during my treatment. Interrupting his words, Grandmaster Qing Yang spoke haughtily. I know, but it's good that you know, there are no buts. Since we've been friends for numerous years, I won't pursue this matter. However, this shouldn't be a place where an incompetent nobody can enter. I am in the midst of treating the howling firmament beast, so chase all of them out. After finishing his words, Grandmaster Qing Yang waved his hands arrogantly. Who was he? A Grandmaster physician, a highly respected figure in the Beiwu Kingdom. While he's in the midst of treating someone, a fellow suddenly popped out and said that he would like to take a look as well. What do you know about the way of medicine? Do you know what to look for? Please calm down, Grandmaster Qing Yang. These few youngsters are beast tamers who just passed the examination today. The reason why I brought them over was so that they can watch the treatment process. They definitely didn't mean to offend you. Hall Master Feng said. Indeed. Beast Tamer Zhang merely touched the howling firmament beast out of curiosity. I guarantee you that it won't happen again. Beast Tamer Lu walked up to persuade him as well. I will let this matter go on your account then. I hope that the Beast Hall can be more disciplined in the future. To treat someone, I require absolute silence. Not everyone is qualified to watch the proceedings, and my treatment isn't something just anyone can understand. If some ignorant fool were to mess about, interfere with the treatment process, and delay the optimal treatment timing, can any of you take responsibility? Grandmaster Qing Yang harumphed as he scanned the surroundings, him holding an irrefutable authority. Yes, yes. Hall Master Feng hurriedly nodded. The standings of beast tamers and physicians were similar, but given that he was the one who had a request for the other party, he had no choice but to lower his head. This was the only person who was capable of treating the howling firmament beast. Thus, even though the physician was speaking so harshly, he had no choice but to tolerate it. Observing the other party's pleasant attitude, Grandmaster Qing Yang decided to not pursue the matter. Instead, he turned his attention to the unconscious howling firmament beast. You said earlier that you have identified the problem. Is there a way to treat its illness? Hall Master Feng asked nervously. After my initial diagnosis, I have confirmed the root of its illness. Grandmaster Qing Yang gestured grandly. Everyone's eyes lit up. As expected of a Grandmaster physician, he was able to locate the root of the problem swiftly. One must know that the 3 2-star beast tamers and numerous 1-star beast tamers have examined the howling firmament beast for 2 whole days but to no avail. Amidst everyone's expectant gazes, Grandmaster Qing Yang nodded his head in satisfaction. He calmly said, given how this steel fang howling firmament beast is vigorous at night, filled with internal heat, and often howled to the heavens, I suspect that it's craving for a mate. Craving for a mate? That's right. Savage beasts possess libido as well, and this libido heightens during the autumn season, reaching a level where it is hard for them to control itself. Based on what I saw previously, its body is warm and it urgently needs an outlet to vent its frustrations. However, as it is unable to find a release, it is growing more and more restless. As time went by, the internal heat that gathered within its body diffused into his organs, causing him to descend into a coma. Grandmaster Qing Yang lifted his head slightly, and he seemed to be glowing with wisdom. We've also thought of the possibility before, just that. Given the age of the savage beast, it is unlikely that it has reached that point, Hall Master Feng asked doubtfully. Savage beasts cannot be gauged using the human standards. Once its bodily functions mature, it will experience libido. Its symptoms of being unable to sleep at night, howling toward the skies, and such are all signs of its desire for a mate. It's impossible for me to be mistaken. Grandmaster Qing Yang turned to look at the crowd, and there was a bizarre glint in his eyes which exerted pressure on those he gazed upon. Why? Do you doubt my diagnosis? That's not it, just that. Hall-Master Feng shook his head, choosing not to linger on this problem. Rather, he looked at Grandmaster Qing Yang anxiously. So how can such an illness be treated? Even though it appears complicated, once the root of the problem is identified, it isn't that difficult to solve. Since it wishes to look for a mate, we can just find one for it. Grandmaster Qing Yang smiled. Find one? A bitter expression appeared on Hall-Master Feng's face. The other two-star beast tamers also shook their heads. It's not that we don't want to find one for it, but the Steel Fang Howling Firmament beast is a rare species. It is nearly impossible to find another female which is of a comparable age. An aerial savage beast such as the Steel Fang Howling Firmament beast which could possess the strength of a Zongshi before maturing was extremely rare. Even considering the entire range of the vast Xianluo mountain range, it was unlikely for there to be more than 2 of them. More importantly, it is capable of flying at incredible speed. Even if they happen to find one, how can they possibly capture and tame it? The reason why there was a Steel Fang Howling Firmament beast in the Beast Hall was that they had raised it from young, even going to the extent of building a residence for it and sending apprentices to wait upon it. That was the main reason why it chose to remain here. Honestly speaking, until now, no one had managed to tame it, and it hadn't established a contract with anyone either. It's not that they didn't want to do it, but that it was impossible for them to do it. The Howling Firmament beast was prejudiced against humans, so taming it completely was impossible. Assuming if it was tamed completely, it would have been able to communicate with its master. If so, the beast tamers would know what was wrong with it and treat it by themselves. They wouldn't have had to go through so much trouble as to invite Grandmaster Qing Yang to diagnose its condition. Since they weren't even able to tame a Howling Firmament beast which they raised from young, how could they possibly bring a mate for it within a short period of time? Clearly, this isn't a feasible solution. It is impossible to find another one. Yes. Hall-Master Feng nodded. Grandmaster Qing Yang, please look for another solution. I'm willing to give anything as long as the Howling Firmament beast can be saved. I do have a solution, and it will solve the problem once and for all. Just that this solution will be slightly troublesome. Grandmaster Qing Yang hesitated for a moment. Since there's a solution, then I'll have to trouble you to hurry up and treat it. The eyes of Hall-Master Feng and the others lit up as they hurriedly said. All right. Placing his hands behind his back, Grandmaster Qing Yang nodded his head. Even if it's impossible to find a mate for it, there's actually another simple solution to curb its frustration. That's castration. As long as the operation is successful, it will not be plagued by such problems in the future. It'll then be able to focus its attention on working for the Beast Hall. Castration? Hall-Master Feng and the others became dumbfounded. Only through castration will it be able to calm its mind. At the very least, it will not feel frustrated and be overwhelmed with heat every day, and such a situation wouldn't occur again. Grandmaster Qing Yang turned to Hall-Master Feng and questioned, aren't there many other savage beasts in the Beast Hall which were castrated to avoid trouble? This Hall-Master Feng hesitated before nodding. There were plenty of savage beasts in the Beast Hall who were castrated upon birth. This way, its attention wouldn't be diverted to its other needs, and it would be more obedient to its master. Alright, this is my diagnosis. You should give it some thought. If you want to go through with it, you should make your decision quickly. It is clear that this fellow will not hold on for long. If you don't resolve the problem soon, I'm afraid that it might not survive even until tomorrow. At this point, Grandmaster Qing Yang stopped speaking and stood quietly on the spot as he waited for the others to make their choice. Must we do this? Hall-Master Feng and the others stared at one another in dilemma. The Steel Fang Howling Firmament beast had been with them since young. They had been together for many years, and the beast tamers had already regarded it as their kin. To castrate it they really couldn't bring themselves to do it. Besides, while there were plenty of precedents of savage beasts having been castrated in the Beast Hall, a significant number of them didn't survive the operation and died on the spot. The howling firmament beast was critically ill, and at this moment, it had already descended into a coma. Conducting such an operation when it wasn't in a good physical condition bore a huge risk to its life. Besides, a Zhongshe realm savage beast possesses wisdom. If they were to infuriate it by doing so, it was likely that it might just leave the beast hall permanently. In fact, it might even try to exact vengeance on the beast hall, and this would put the beast hall at a huge peril. It wasn't that there were no precedents to such a situation. There were other beast halls who had met with similar situations and castrated a Half-Zhizun savage beast. This infuriated the savage beast, and not only did it leave the beast hall, it viewed the personnel of the beast hall with enmity and often returned to wreak havoc. Eventually, the beast hall could only dispatch experts to kill it. It said that after it was killed, the master of the savage beast cried for 3 days straight. Due to his excessive grief, his jinqi dissipated and he died a few days later. Just like humans, savage beasts have to be respected. Castrating the other party without informing it is a type of extreme humiliation. Grandmaster Qing, is there any other solution? This really isn't an easy choice. After hesitating for a moment, Hall Master Feng asked. This is already the best solution to the problem. If you are unwilling to do so, we can just forget the matter. I have already presented my diagnosis and the treatment to you, and it's your choice to go through with it or not. However, if there are any other problems in the future, you don't need to dream of looking for me. Grandmaster Qing harumphed in displeasure. He had presented the root of the problem and the treatment method, yet the other party kept questioning his judgment. Did they not trust his capability as a Grandmaster physician? Upon hearing the other party's words, Hall Master Feng gritted his teeth and decided to go ahead with the other party's solution. However, before he could speak, an impassive voice suddenly echoed in the air. In the past, I've heard that inept physicians could kill their patients. Back then, I thought that it was impossible, but to think that I would be seeing one right before me, what did you say? Grandmaster Qing burst into an outrage. He turned his head over immediately and saw a youngster standing amidst the crowd, looking at him with a calm expression. It was the fellow who sneaked forward to touch the howling firmament beast a while ago. Zhang Xian. I say that you are an inept physician. If you don't understand what I'm saying, with a serious expression, Zhang Xian said, it means that you are a fool with inferior medical skills. When you are unable to determine the root of the illness, you make up a random diagnosis using your own imagination. Chapter 257, What else can you be if not an inept physician? He said that Grandmaster Qing is an inept physician. He said that he is a fool with inferior medical skills. Everyone was stunned. Even Mou, who was resentful against Zhang Xian, was stunned. To say that Grandmaster Qing is an inept physician, this is equivalent to insulting the other party's professionalism, and there is no way for reconciliation. Why in the world is a fellow like you, who is ignorant in the way of medicine, acting big? Even though it wasn't common for a savage beast to be castrated, it wasn't as though it had never happened before. If they don't castrate it, is there any other solution to treating the steel fang howling firmament beast? Beast Tamer Zhang, not expecting him to insult Grandmaster Qing all of a sudden, Hall Master Feng's complexion darkened. He immediately turned to Grandmaster Qing and tried to appease him. Grandmaster Qing, don't get angry. He isn't doing this on purpose, shut up. Grandmaster Qing's expression warped savagely. As though a furious lion, he stared coldly at the young man before him. With a frosty tone, he declared, I, Qing, have been practicing medicine for more than 39 years. I have saved countless lives and relieved countless people of their ailments. This is the first time I have been insulted by someone like that. Lad, regardless of whether you are a beast tamer or not and who is backing you, if you don't explain yourself clearly today, don't blame me for getting nasty. Boom. The moment he finished speaking, a powerful aura immediately burst forth from him, reaching even the heavens. It was so powerful and repressive that it forced Yun Tao and the others to retreat continuously. Grandmaster Qing Yang is a Zongshi expert. Regardless of occupation, while talent was a factor, one required a cultivation realm that could match up with it. All those who have reached 2-star were mainly Zongshi realm experts. This was also the reason why those who have reached 2-star were termed as grandmasters. This wasn't just a show of respect toward the person's mastery in the occupation, but to the person's cultivation and strength as well. As the most skilled physician in Beiwu Kingdom, Qing Yang had never suffered such humiliation while practicing his medical art. If not for his sophistication, he would have already lashed out at Zhang Xian. The reason why you've never been insulted is because you've never met me. If you've met me earlier, you would have long been insulted. Despite the other party's intimidation, Zhang Xian simply looked at him indifferently. Grandmaster Qing Yang's eyebrows twitched. Do you think that I dare not kill you? Kill me? Being unable to see through the howling firmament beast's illness, you came up with a nonsensical diagnosis. If it were to be treated as you said, not only will the howling firmament beast not be saved, it will die on the spot. Is this the result of your diagnosis? What else can you be if not an inept physician? And you still want to kill me despite erring so severely, you refuse to allow anyone to talk about it. How can one be so thick-skinned? Zhang Xian lifted his eyebrows. Upon hearing those words, Grandmaster Qing Yang was so maddened that he almost spurted a mouthful of blood. After releasing his full might as a Zongshi realm expert, he thought that the other party would apologize to him fearfully. Yet, not only did Zhang Xian continue to criticize him boldly, he even reprimanded him for being thick-skinned, a dignified grandmaster physician getting scolded by a young lad in public. He felt so humiliated that he was about to go insane. Do you feel indignant? Fine, I'll explain it to you then. Just as Grandmaster Qing Yang was about to fly into a rage, the young man approached and stood before the howling firmament beast. The most direct way to determine the age of a steel fang howling firmament beast is through its teeth. The teeth exposed outside for a mature howling firmament beast will be exactly 3 qi and 3 cun. I believe that all beast tamers should know about it, so I need not elaborate more. Zhang Xian pointed to the howling firmament beast and said, the teeth of this fellow are only 2 qi and 7 cun long, proving that it is still some age away from adulthood. If I'm not wrong, it should be only 17-year-old. Based on the 200 years lifespan of a howling firmament beast, it should still be a child. I would like to ask you, how can a prepubescent savage beast possess libido? Initially, Hall Master Feng and the others thought that Zhang Xian was just causing trouble. However, after hearing his words, they were all taken aback. Other people might not know how old this howling firmament beast was, but they were extremely clear of this. Ever since it was an infant, it had been living in the beast hall. It had been 17 years since then. Zhang Xian's words were completely accurate. If one didn't know beforehand, it was impossible for one to fathom that a fellow possessing such a gigantic body would be merely 17 years old. For a savage beast which has a lifespan of 200 years, it was no different from a 7 to 8-year-old human. It is a savage beast, Grandmaster Qing Yang harumphed. However, before he could finish his words, Zhang Xian had already interrupted him. Don't tell me that the physical condition of a savage beast is different from that of a human, so their physical development is different. If this fellow is truly suffering from excessive libido and craves for a mate, it would only suffer from excessive heat, discomfort, and a fiery temper. Libido causing one to go into a coma like that. Grandmaster Qing Yang, for you to make such a judgment, can it be that you experienced the same phenomenon? Zhang Xian asked. That's true. Even if it is overwhelmed by lust, it would only be in discomfort. I have never heard of anyone going into a coma from an overwhelming desire for the female body. Everyone was taken aback by Zhang Xian's words. Finding his explanation logical, they began to mutter in agreement. It is a physiological need for a mature adult to look for a mate. This isn't applicable to just savages beast, the same goes for humans as well. However, never have they ever heard of a person being stifled to the point of going into a coma just because they were unable to find a girlfriend. That isn't logical at all. Humph. Grandmaster Qing Yang's face flushed furiously. He wanted to refute Zhang Xian's words, but he found himself unable to say a single thing. Flinging his sleeves, he harumphed, "Since you claim that it isn't libido, what do you think caused it to be agitated then? Also, why would it run about as though finding an outlet for its inexhaustible energy during the nights of the full moon? Does being agitated and possessing inexhaustible energy at night mean that it is looking for a mate? What reasoning is that?" Zhang Xian shook his head. If that's the reason, why would its appetite dwindle, with nothing able to catch its attention? Grandmaster Qing Yang was stumped. Even if it were looking for a mate, despite being unable to talk as a savage beast, there were plenty of ways for it to express himself. It was truly inexplicable why it would refuse food and be disinterested in everything. From the words of the apprentice, we know that 10 days ago, the howling firmament beast merely suffered from a lack of appetite. As the days went by, his condition worsened, and by morning today, it was unable to endure any longer and finally fainted. If it was truly just looking for a mate, it could just fly away. There doesn't seem to be any chains binding it to the beast hall, preventing it from flying away. The crowd nodded their heads. The beast hall would try to fawn up to that fellow at every available chance. How can they possibly bind it? If it was truly distressed by the lack of a mate, it could simply fly outward to look for one itself. There was no reason why it should stifle itself in the courtyard to the point of fainting. Upon hearing his analysis, everyone started to doubt Grandmaster Qing Yang's diagnosis. They turned to look at him with a bizarre expression. "Then what do you say it is?" Grandmaster Qing Yang's complexion paled. He realized that he had neglected many details, and at this moment, his rage had already vanished. Unable to hold himself back, he asked. "Since it's not seeking a mate, the answer is simple: the howling firmament beast is either truly critically ill or is plagued by some other problem." Zhang Xian surveyed the crowd. "Everyone, you should look at the claw of the howling firmament beast. Different from the usual eagle-type savage beast, the howling firmament beast has a thick layer of flesh covering its claws, similar to human feet. Under normal conditions, the claw should be greenish-gold in color. However, at this moment, red veins can be seen within the flesh." Everyone immediately turned to look at the claw of the howling firmament beast. Taking a closer look, they realized that there were really blood-red veins. The veins were extremely thin, similar to the capillaries in a human's body. If one didn't pay careful attention to it, it was easy to neglect. Most savage beasts have a meat crown, and the howling firmament beast isn't an exception either. Under normal circumstances, the meat crown would be slightly red. However, it is slightly pale at the moment. Even though it is inconspicuous, it remains visible to the eye. Zhang Xian said. Everyone quickly looked over, and it was exactly as Zhang Xian said. "What kind of illness is this?" Zhang Xian's ability to point out the numerous inconspicuous symptoms on the howling firmament beast had convinced the crowd of his judgment. Unable to hold himself back, Hall Master Feng asked immediately. "In a sense, it isn't really an illness. In fact, I should congratulate Hall Master Feng." Zhang Xian smiled. "Congratulate? Why would you congratulate me?" Hall Master Feng was stunned. The howling firmament beast was still in a coma, and it was hard to tell whether its life was still in danger or not. Furthermore, if you know the cause of the problem, you should know the solution as well. Such congratulatory words should only be said after it rises from its coma. Why would you say it now? If I'm not wrong, the howling firmament beast is probably undergoing bloodline evolution." Zhang Xian said. "Bloodline evolution? How is that possible?" Hall Master Feng was stunned. The rest of the crowd also found Zhang Xian's words inconceivable. The bloodline evolution of a savage beast was similar to a mutation in the genes. It was extremely rare. Furthermore, without a trigger, it was impossible for it to happen. The trigger could be the absorption of an even purer blood essence or the consumption of precious herbs. However, the Howling Firmament beast didn't appear to have experienced any of the two. Furthermore, a bloodline evolution shouldn't have caused the Howling Firmament beast to descend into a coma, as though it had fallen into critical illness. Seeing the disbelief in everyone's eyes, Zhang Xian chuckled and turned to Hall Master Feng. Half a month ago, did the Steel Fang Howling Firmament beast visit a location dense in Yin energy? This half a month ago, it ferried a person to the Yin Tempest Valley. The one who replied was Beast Tamer Wang. He was the one who drove the beast there, so he remembered the details clearly. The Yin Tempest Valley is dense in Yin energy, and an extremely potent Yin attribute fruit called Yin Tempest fruit grows there. It has the ability to raise the cultivation of a person whose physical constitution is aligned toward the Yin. If I'm not wrong, the person probably presented this fruit as payment. Zhang Xian said. That's right. Beast Tamer Wang nodded. One could pay the fee for the beast mount through gold coins or rare herbs. The Yin Tempest fruit was an extremely well-known commodity, and it was worth a fortune. Furthermore, it was the kind of product which rarely appeared in the market, and one might not be able to buy it even if one had money. Naturally, Beast Tamer Wang accepted his payment. The cause of the incident is the Yin Tempest fruit. Zhang Xian smiled. Everyone should be aware of the gender of the Howling Firmament beast, male. As such, it has overwhelming yang attribute within its body. After consuming the Yin Tempest fruit, the yin and yang clashed with one another. Even so, the worst that would have happened to it was discomfort. Given its gigantic physique, it was just a matter of time before it tides through the period. However, at this point, you fed it spirit rejuvenation water. The spirit rejuvenation water calms one's mind, revitalizes one's spirit, and eases one's agitation. The main ingredient in it is fermented mother grass. This is a neutral medicinal herb which served as a mediating factor. Logically speaking, no matter how many of it one consumed, it wouldn't cause any adverse effect. However, it just happened that the property of this herb clashes with the nature of the Yin Tempest fruit. Upon contact, the Yin aura of the Yin Tempest fruit is amplified by more than 3 times. These two happen to be the main ingredients required for the forging of Unravel Yang Pill, and it is extremely potent in awakening Yang attribute physical constitutions. Zhang Xian continued, it was due to the stimulating of the Yang attribute within the body of the Howling Firmament beast that it was unable to sleep at night and possess inexhaustible energy, as though afflicted with overwhelming libido. If this was only it, it would have been able to tide through the matter. As long as the yin and yang within its body achieve a balance, the problem would be resolved. However, it is a pity that Hall Master Feng had someone feed it too. Heat dissipation pill. At this point, Zhang Xian shook his head in pity. The heat dissipation grass contains the Arctic grass, and the Arctic grass dispels yang flames within one's body. The yang energy within the Howling Firmament beast was stimulated when it was fed this. Not to mention, it had consumed 2 at once. That is equivalent to throwing ice cubes onto a fire seedling. With the clash of hot and cold within its body, it is already extremely fortunate that it didn't die on the spot. Honestly speaking, the Howling Firmament beast was truly a pitiful soul. Initially, it would have been able to recover on its own after resting for a few days. Yet, under the kind intentions of those around it, it was sent to the brink of death. And yet, they claimed that they were trying to treat it more like murdering it. The complexion of Hall Master Feng and the other beast tamers immediately turned awful. Clearly, they hadn't expected that the condition of the Howling Firmament beast was a result of them feeding the wrong medication. Try recalling the matter. Is it after feeding the medication that the condition of the Howling Firmament beast slowly deteriorated? Zhang Xian continued asking. Yes, recalling the words of the beast tamer apprentice, everyone couldn't help but nod in agreement. That was indeed the case. No one could have imagined that feeding it a common medication would cause such adverse side effects. Currently, the yang energy is currently in conflict with the yin aura within its body. If you were to castrate it right now, the yang energy would be quenched and the yin energy would overwhelm it. In less than 2 hours, it would breathe its last. At this point, Zhang Xian turned to Grandmaster Qing Yang and said, "This is also the reason why I said that you are an inept physician. If the treatment is carried out as you've said, not only will the howling firmament beast not be saved, it would have already become a corpse by now." This, Grandmaster Qing Yang felt his body turn cold. As a 2-star physician, he had an in-depth knowledge in the way of medicine. The other party's deduction was logical and backed up by facts, to the point that he was unable to pick any flaws with it at all. It was as though the other party has witnessed the entire scene for himself, and he couldn't help but feel admiration for the other party's capability. He felt that there was a need for him to refute the other party's words to protect his reputation, but he couldn't find a word to say. "Then, what about the bloodline evolution you spoke about previously?" Afraid that Grandmaster Qing Yang would be put in a difficult position, Hall Master Feng quickly interjected and changed the topic. Once the stimulated yang energy within its body stabilizes, it will undergo a bloodline evolution. On the other hand, if it fails to strike a balance between the yin and yang, it would die. That's to say, if the howling firmament beast is able to survive this ordeal, its cultivation will reach new heights. If not, death awaits. Then is there any way to help it? Hall Master Feng asked anxiously. Of course there is. However, I will need the help of an apothecary. Zhang Xian hesitated for a moment before saying. Mou Xiaojie is an official apothecary. She can help you. Yun Tao hurriedly said. Everyone's gazes shot toward Mou immediately. I am willing to help. What do I have to do? Mou placed her hands behind her back confidently. Even though she didn't like the fellow before her, she wanted to help save the howling firmament beast. Besides, even though she was inferior to the other party in the other aspects, this provided her an opportunity to showcase her talents as an apothecary and cleanse herself of her past shame. Aren't you an incredible beast tamer, the senior of master teachers, and a capable physician? I may not be able to compare to you in these fields, but at the very least, I am able to forge pills. At the very least, I'm a 1-star apothecary. Thus, she proudly stepped out from the crowd and asked the other party what she should do. Yet, she was welcomed with a frown and a questioning tone. Can you forge pills? Mou staggered. She nearly exploded upon hearing those words. Can't you say anything good? I am a 1-star apothecary, of course, I can forge pills. How can one become an apothecary without being able to forge pills? Even though she knew that this fellow couldn't speak any good words, she didn't expect him to be so hateful. Gritting her teeth, her breathing hastened, and her chest expanded and contracted rapidly. Have you ever seen an apothecary who is unable to forge pills? I have, Zhang Xian nodded. I was worried that you passed the apothecary examination through pill debate. If so, you probably won't be able to forge pills. Pill debate? Only those who have reached a high mastery in the way of pills are capable of passing the examination. Reverence brimmed in Mou's eyes. All of the seniors who managed to pass the pill debate are amazing talents, and yet, you say that they are unable to forge pills. What a joke. If you were to say such words in the apothecary guild, you will surely be beaten to death. Before she could finish her words, the young man before her silently took out an apothecary emblem and pinned it on his shirt. While scratching his head, an awkward expression appeared on his face. I am the type of senior you are talking about, and I happen to be unable to forge pills. Chapter 258, Guidance on Pill Forging. This time, Mou really cried. Are you toying with me? The moment I scored the top in the Beast Tamer examination, you ran over immediately, pummeled my savage beast, and became an official Beast Tamer. Just when I proudly declared that I am an apprentice physician, you popped out once more. Not only did you criticize a 2-star physician, you even explained the illness of the howling firmament beast and offered a solution to the problem. Just when I thought that I can brag about my accomplishments in the way of pills, you took out your apothecary emblem and said that you passed the examination through pill debate. Who in the world did I offend? Can't you allow me to show off my capabilities for a bit? Pill debate? What is that? It is an examination where one challenges 10 official apothecaries and forces them to admit defeat. I heard that this method of examination is extremely harsh, and the success rate isn't even 1%. An examination with a success rate below 1%? Most of the beast tamers present weren't knowledgeable about apothecaries. Upon hearing the explanation, they became dumbfounded. How incredible does one have to be in order to force 10 official apothecaries to admit defeat? All along, Yun Tao thought that he was a genius. However, after the various affairs, he finally understood that his talents were nothing in comparison to this elder Zhang Xian. Formation, beast taming, medical skills, master teacher, pill forging brother, is there anything in the world that you aren't good at? I'll go and learn that now. Forget it, I think I better not ask about it. Every single time I ask you about something, you would say that you don't know about it. I would be naive if I take your words for it. Judging from the usual pattern, I'm afraid that I would be slapped so hard that I wouldn't be able to recover from the blow after all. Look at Mou Xiaojie. Even Yun Tao couldn't help but pity Mou. In any case, this fellow is a monster. It is best to not compare ourselves with him. Since you are able to forge pills, you should have a pill cauldron with you or something like that, right? Ignoring everyone's shock, Zhang Xian turned to Mou. Gritting her teeth, Mou suppressed her anger and harumphed. All right. Zhang Xian nodded. Then, turning to the other beast tamers, he said, Hall Master Feng, I'll need the medicinal herbs that I'm about to recite. A stalk of 30-year-old searing sun grass, a tail of 15-year-old solar flame grass. In one single breath, he mentioned the names of a bunch of medicinal herbs. Upon hearing the names of these herbs, Mou was stunned. Then, a thought appeared in her mind and her eyes narrowed. It can't be that you want me to forge the searing sun pill? That's right. Zhang Xian nodded his head as though it was the most natural thing to do. Are you joking? The searing sun pill is a grade 2 pinnacle pill while I am merely a 1-star apothecary. How can I possibly succeed? Mou's body trembled and she nearly fainted. Is there something wrong with this fellow's head? Forged using 9 yang attribute medicinal herbs, the searing sun pill was rich in yang energy. As a grade 2 pinnacle pill, even 3-star apothecaries would find it hard to successfully forge. Yet, Zhang Xian was trying to have a 1-star apothecary like her to do it. Are you sure you aren't mistaken? Rest assured, I will guide you. It is sufficient as long as you know how to use a cauldron and control the temperature of the fire. It is actually very easy. Zhang Xian said calmly. Use a cauldron. Control the temperature of the fire. Very easy. Mou wished she hadn't listened to his explanation. After hearing his words, she could feel the final thread of her rationality snapping. Brother, are you really an apothecary? Even apprentices know such fundamental knowledge. If pill forging were that easy, everyone would have become a Grandmaster apothecary. Pill forging isn't just a mere routine 1 + 1 = 2. More importantly, one has to have an absolute control over the temperature and timing during forging. She had just reached 1-star this year, and she wasn't capable of forging even the slightly more incredible grade 1 pills. Yet, Zhang Xian was trying to get her to forge a grade 2 pinnacle pill. More importantly, one has to be forging the pill by oneself to grasp the progress of the forging in real time so that he can decide on the next course of action. If he wasn't going to be involved in the pill forging process, how was he going to guide her? Where does this fellow's confidence come from? Indeed. If you feel that you're unable to rise up to the task, I can find another apprentice. It might be difficult to find 1-star apothecary in the Beast Hall, but it should still be possible to find a few apprentice apothecary. Seeing her frenzied expression, Zhang Xian frowned. There must be something wrong with this woman. Do you have to react so greatly to everything I say? I have already told you that I will guide you, so why are you spouting so much nonsense? If you feel like you aren't able to do it, I can just look for another person. There's no need for it, I'll do it. Seeing the other party's contemptuous gaze, Mou felt as though her heart had been scratched by 10,000 cats. Unable to bear the humiliation, she gritted her teeth and accepted the task. Other than that person in Tianwu Kingdom, she was a top-notch genius in all fields. She hadn't expected to be scorned by a countryside bumpkin in such a remote location. Damn it. Fine. Trying to act incredible. I'll see what you do when I fail to forge a grade 2 pinnacle pill later on. Later on, follow my instructions strictly. There mustn't even be the slightest error. Afraid that the other party would cause trouble, Zhang Xian reminded. Don't worry. Mou's obstinate nature surfaced. That's good then. Zhang Xian nodded and did not speak further. Knowing that this matter was urgent, Hall Master Feng didn't dare to dawdle. Soon, a bunch of medicinal herbs appeared before them. Even though this wasn't the apothecary guild, as savage beasts have an innate interest in medicinal herbs, the beast hall had an abundant inventory of herbs. Let's begin. Upon the arrival of the medicinal herbs, Zhang Xian examined them thoroughly and made sure they were sufficiently mature to be used for the pill. Thus, he nodded in satisfaction. Of all of the occupations, the one Zhang Xian was the most familiar with was pill forging. Putting aside the fact that the first examination he took was the apothecary examination, more importantly, under the effects of the Golden Book, he had assimilated the knowledge contained within the books he flipped through in the apothecary guild into his mind. In terms of fundamentals, even 2-star and 3-star apothecaries would find it difficult to match up to him. Albeit stifled, Mou didn't waste any time. With a flick of her wrist, a massive cauldron appeared before her. She then lit up the flames immediately to warm the cauldron. Her smooth motions bore testimony to her strong foundation in the occupation. Even though she was 100% sure it was impossible for her to forge a grade 2 pill, given how confident the other party was, she decided to give it a try. After all, it wasn't too late to mock him after they fail. Not bad. Seeing her fluid motions, Zhang Xian nodded his head. As expected of a genius from Tianwu Kingdom. Even though Mou was young and slightly condescending, her skills in pill forging were significantly better than by Ming, Qin Shao, and the others. As Zhang Xian thought so, he walked toward the cauldron and casually touched it. Without saying another word, he stood there unmoving. Do you think that he will be able to succeed? Staring at the duo, Beast Tamer Lu couldn't help but to start feeling worried. I've no idea. However, if I were to tell you that someone is able to tame a savage beast by beating it up with the resulting loyalty level hitting 45, will you believe it? Hall Master Feng asked bitterly. This I would probably have never believed it. Beast Tamer Lu hesitated for a moment before replying. If someone were to have told him such words before the astonishing sight he witnessed today, he would definitely have beaten the person to death. To tame a savage beast by beating it up, furthermore, with its loyalty level reaching 45, isn't that clearly a joke? However, after witnessing it personally today, there was no way he could retort even if he wanted to. This young man before him seemed to be a creator of miracles, rewriting everyone's understanding of the world with every single action. I have once seen a 3-star master teacher guide an apprentice apothecary in a conferred kingdom. The feat astonished everyone at the scene. To think that I would have another opportunity to witness such a sight. Beast Tamer Wang's eyes glowed as he muttered to himself. I know about that as well, but the pill forged back then was a grade 1 pill. On the other hand, the pill which Beast Tamer Zhang is going to guide Princess Mou on is a grade 2 pinnacle pill. The difficulties for both tasks are on entirely different levels. Indeed, there is a huge difference in difficulty with each increase in the grade of the pill. If a 1-star primary stage apothecary were to be able to forge a grade 2 pinnacle pill, it would definitely pop some eyes. Hall Master Feng and Beast Tamer Lu nodded in agreement. Look, the pill forging is about to begin. They were discussing the matter when the pill forging begun. Xiong xiong. The flames in the cauldron burnt furiously. As though a skillful butterfly treading through the flowers, Mou's slim and slender hands flew about the cauldron at a speed so swift that afterimages could be seen. place the green kudzu leaves in. 7 breaths later, place the white beard grass in. Then, 14 breaths later, use the 1,000 illusory cloud rippling hands to place the searing sun grass in. With his hands behind his back, Zhang Xian's calm and clear voice sounded. There wasn't the slightest pause or hesitation in it. Even though the searing sun pill was known to be forged using 9 types of yang attribute herbs, many other medicinal herbs had to be placed in to act as mediators. Otherwise, with so many yang attribute herbs placed into the cauldron, it would be a miracle if the cauldron didn't explode. Initially, Mou didn't think that following the instructions of the other party would allow her to craft a grade 2 pinnacle pill. However, as the medicinal herbs disappeared one after another into the cauldron, the disdain in her mind slowly faded away. Instead, her face grew increasingly grim, and she couldn't help but feel astonished by Zhang Xian's capability. She had seen the pill formula for searing sun pill. The 9 yang attribute herbs were like 9 bombs. Even with other medicinal herbs act as mediators, if one fails to grasp the timing accurately, an explosion would ensue immediately. Many 2-star apothecaries have failed due to slight lapses in their timings. She was already more than halfway through the forging process, having thrown in 5 of the yang attribute medicinal herbs, but the cauldron continued to function normally. There were no signs of instability in the pill at all. That was to say, the sequence and timing of the medicinal herbs thrown in were perfect. How can this be possible? One must note that with the difference in one's cultivation, Jinqi, the cauldron, and fuel use makes huge differences in the forging process. As such, during forging, one has to make constant adjustments with no room for any breather. In fact, if the same person, with a different cultivation and state, were to craft the exact same pill twice, can't use the same sequencing of placing the medicinal herbs. For such a complex pill formula, there wasn't the slightest instability when following Zhang Xian's instructions. That was to say, there wasn't the slightest error in his instructions. How could Mou not feel astounded? More importantly, how did the other party know her forging techniques and her pill forging standards? There wasn't a single instruction of his that surpassed her current pill forging capability. She was certain that she had never forged pills before the other party. But if so, how could he possibly know about her in such great detail? Don't let your thoughts wander. Mou's mind was wandering when a bellow suddenly echoed by her ear. At this point, she suddenly realized that the temporary lapse in her attention had caused her to throw in a medicinal herb half a breath earlier than the instruction given by the other party. Gugugugu. In an instant, the yang energy in the cauldron surged. The energy, that had remained stable all along, seemed as though it had suddenly been set alight. The entire cauldron shook violently. Oh no, the cauldron is going to explode. There was a random cry from the crowd, and everyone's face warped immediately. Chapter 259, Cauldron Explosion, Cauldron Explosion. Hall Master Feng and the others could not help but clench their fists. Cauldron explosion is the most fearsome event an apothecary can encounter during pill forging. It is usually due to an apothecary failing to control the energy contained by the medicinal herbs, causing the process to turn violent and uncontrollable. The moment an explosion happens, the medicinal herbs within, as well as the entire cauldron, will be ruined. The apothecary might also get injured by the impact of the explosion. The higher the grade of a pill, the more violent the energy contained within, and the higher its tendency to explode during the pill forging process. If Mou were a 2-star apothecary and that her cultivation had reached Zhongshe realm, given her own strength and her grasp over medicinal herbs, she might have been able to suppress the raging strength contained in the cauldron forcefully. But at this moment, the entire cauldron was swaying violently, and it seemed as though it would blow at any moment. It was clear that it was too late to reverse the cauldron explosion. Is this a failure? Hall Master Feng's complexion looked awful. He knew how important the searing sun pill was to the Steel Fang Howling Firmament beast. If the pill was successfully forged and fed, the yang attribute energy in its body would be augmented. This would increase the chances of it successfully achieving a bloodline evolution and raise its strength significantly. On the other hand, if the pill forging fails, the chances of the Steel Fang Howling Firmament beast overcoming its current crisis would be low. Once it fails, it would be difficult for it to ever wake up and only death awaits it. Before, with Beast Tamer Zhang guiding Mou to forge the pills, he had carried a sliver of hope. However, looking at the rocking cauldron, he reckoned that it was all over. The cauldron would definitely explode, and the pill would be ruined. It was an unchangeable fact. It's over. Not expecting such a situation to occur, Yun Tao's face paled. Even though it hadn't been long since he met this young man, his confident smile and his ability to achieve the impossible had long left a deep impression in his mind. Will this seemingly omnipotent elder Zhang Xian fail in this pill forging? Who asked you to act so haughtily? You're getting what you deserved. Distinct from the tense looks on others' faces, Zhou Xian and Zhu Jinhuang exchanged gazes and sneered coldly. Weren't you bragging just now that nothing would go wrong with your guidance Pui? Now that there's a cauldron explosion, I would like to see how you explain yourself later on. Despite being a brat, you kept acting as though you know everything. See how we'll mock you later on. Oblivious to the tension in the air, Zhang Xian frowned. This Mou is simply too unreliable. To think that her attention would waver at such a crucial timing. It is a wonder how she became an apothecary. Even though she was early by just half a breath, that half a breath was more than sufficient to destroy the balance which he had sustained with great difficulty. It caused a vast difference in the results. Formidable apothecaries were capable of using their own strength to forcefully suppress the violent reaction between medicinal herbs. However, Mou was only a one-star apothecary, and her strength and capability didn't allow her to do so. Thus, Zhang Xian could only ensure a balance among the various herbs to forge the pill. Yet, a mistake occurred, and if he didn't salvage the situation quickly, all of his previous hard work would go to vain. Calm your mind, don't panic and don't retreat. Seeing that the cauldron was on the verge of exploding, Mou instinctively tried to retreat. With a darkened complexion, Zhang Xian bellowed at her. She mustn't back down at this point. The moment she leaves her spot, the medicinal properties in the cauldron would spiral out of control and an explosion would definitely occur. Mou's face turned red. Why? Are you scared? If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have asked for your help. If only I had looked for another apprentice apothecary, such a situation wouldn't have occurred. Zhang Xian harumphed coldly. Mou was enraged. She was a proud and competitive person. That was also the reason why she was able to take on so many different occupations at once and achieve great accomplishments in them, thus becoming the genius in the eyes of others. Initially, when she saw that the cauldron would explode at any time, she was hesitant to continue the pill forging. However, when she heard the other party say that looking for her to forge the pill for him was a mistake on his part and that even an apprentice would do better than her, her anger peaked. If she were to back down now, wouldn't she be ridiculed by the other fellow later on? Gritting her teeth, she forcefully held herself in place. What do we do now? Seeing that his provocation had worked, Zhang Xian instructed, throw the remaining white sun leaf and turbid solar vine in together. Throw all of them in. Mou was taken aback. The energy was already running rampant, and if she were to throw in the remaining yang attribute medicinal herbs in, wouldn't that just cause the explosion to be even more violent? Who in the world forges a pill like this? At the very most, under the current situation, only the cauldron would be destroyed. If she were to throw these two herbs in, not only would the cauldron explode, the violent and searing heat from within would deal her a severe injury. Could it be that this fellow is seeking vengeance? Hurry up. Zhang Xian's eyebrows shot up. Fine. Not expecting the other party to bellow at her, her face darkened. Gritting her teeth, she made up her resolution. If I die from this, so be it. At the very least, this is much better than being mocked by that fellow. Agreeing to it, she flicked her wrist and threw the two remaining yang attribute medicinal herb into the cauldron. Boom! As she expected, the moment the 2 young attribute medicinal herbs were thrown in, the cauldron began to shake even more violently. Before, if it only looked as if the cauldron might explode, at this moment, everyone was 100% sure that it would explode. This was because the cauldron was obviously nearing the limits of its durability. Cracks had started to appear on its walls. Everyone, back away, with a dignified expression, Hall Master Feng's Jinqi billowed and created a barrier before himself. Knowing the danger of a cauldron explosion, everyone else also retreated hurriedly. As though facing a dangerous enemy, all of them stood on their guards. Jai. The cracks grew larger and larger, and the violent aura grew increasingly vigorous. It seemed that the cauldron was unable to take any further pressure. Add in the green toad grass and the crepe myrtle flower, without the slightest panic, Zhang Xian continued instructing. Knowing that she had no other choice than to listen to the other party's words, Mou swiftly grabbed the mediating medicinal herbs that Zhang Xian spoke of and threw them in. At this moment, all of the medicinal herbs required for the searing sun pill had been fully thrown into the cauldron. The addition of the herbs resulted in the cauldron rocking even more violently. The scorching heat waves caused even the air to distort. At this sight, everyone subconsciously wiped away the cold sweat on their forehead, and anxiety gripped their hearts. Raise the intensity of the fire by a single fold. Zhang Xian instructed. Raise the intensity of the fire. Mou clenched her fists tightly together. The cauldron was on the verge of exploding, yet Zhang Xian ordered her to raise the intensity of the fire. It was comparable to adding fuel to explosives. Even so, having made up her mind, she decided to go through with it without care for the result. Jinqi furiously surged from her palms into the flames. Xiong. Triggered by Mou's Jinqi, the flames grew by a single fold immediately. The searing flames embraced the entire cauldron. Kacha! The cauldron had been pushed to its limits by the violent reaction among the medicinal herbs, so how could it survive this abrupt rise in temperature? A series of cracking sounds echoed and a slight crack crept along the surface of the entire cauldron immediately. It's exploding. Someone exclaimed. The next moment, the cracked cauldron gave way. Boom! A powerful explosion occurred. Strong heat waves gushed into the surroundings, and fragments of the originally sturdy cauldron flew in all directions. It's over. Mou, who was still in the midst of infusing Jinqi into the cauldron, hadn't expected the explosion to come so suddenly. Caught off guard, she didn't even have the time to react when a powerful pressure came gushing straight toward her. Amidst the intense outward pressure were cauldron fragments. If she were to be struck by any of it, despite her powerful cultivation, she would be severely injured. It's over. I'm really going to die because of that fellow. Mou shuddered. Knowing that it was impossible for her to escape at this point, she drove her Jinqi to protect her vitals. Who? She was thinking that she would be severely injured this time round when a figure suddenly appeared before her. Boom boom boom. The violent shock wave burst forth vigorously, but the figure before her didn't budge in the least. As though an immovable mountain, he took all of the impact himself. Zhang Xian, at this point, she recognized the fellow to be the one whom she had resented all along. At the moment of the explosion, he rushed to her front to shield her from the impact. Her eyes reddened slightly. Even though this fellow spoke words that sounded awful, he was warm-hearted within. The trio, Zhu Jinhuang, Zhou Xian, and Yun Tao, declared that they would do everything for her. Yet, at such a crucial period, they simply watched from the side. Instead, it was this foul-mouthed fellow who shielded her. Who? Soon, the dust settled. At this moment, the towering cauldron had already been reduced to pieces after pieces of shattered metal. The coal within spilled onto the floor. Zhang Xian was standing right before the cauldron, shielding Mou from the brunt of the explosion. His appearance was unkempt, his clothes were tattered and his face was charred black. Are you all right? Hall Master Feng and the others walked over. I'm okay. Zhang Xian smiled. Possessing the Heaven's Path Golden Body and Heaven's Path Shinchi, his defensive capability was nowhere beneath that of steel. While the might of the explosion was incredible, he had only sustained superficial wounds. It's good that you're alright. It's impossible to forge it. I'll send someone to Beishu Kingdom to render the service of apothecary Wang Xing, Hall Master Feng consoled. Wang Xing was the guild leader of Beishu Kingdom's apothecary guild and was a 2-star pinnacle apothecary. Usually, it would be difficult for anyone to employ his services. But Hall Master Feng had some ties with him, and furthermore, they were of equal standing, so it wouldn't be too hard to obtain his assistance. There's no need. Zhang Xian shook his head. Just as he was about to explain the situation, Zhu Jinyuan and Zhou Xian hurried forward to help Mou up. They had concerned looks on their faces. Mou Xiaojie, are you injured? Seeing them rush over, a disappointed expression flashed across Mou's face. She quickly shook her head. Zhang Xian had taken the brunt of the impact from the cauldron explosion for her, so she didn't sustain any physical injuries. Rather, she was only alarmed by the force of the explosion. It's all this fellow's fault. What about guiding you to forge pills? He spoke as if he is so incredible. Yet, what happened in the end? Not only did the cauldron explode, Mou Xiaojie was almost injured. Are you sure that you can take responsibility if something happens to her? Pill forging isn't a child's play. It's not like one can simply guide another. Do you really take yourself to be a master teacher? Even a master teacher wouldn't dare to claim that they would be able to guide a 1-star apothecary to forge a grade 2 pill. You should really learn some humility. Seeing how their goddess didn't say anything, the duo felt even more furious. They immediately turned to Zhang Xian and began to criticize him. Shut up. She was already disappointed by the actions of the duo. Upon seeing them harping on this issue, she felt her anger escalate. Thus, her complexion darkened and she lashed out at them. Mou Xiaojie, the duo was just trying to speak up for her, so they didn't expect that they would agitate her further. They were about to explain themselves to their goddess when they saw her walk to Zhang Xian with an apologetic look. It's my fault that the pill forging failed. If it's possible, I can do it once more. This time, I promise you that my attention will not waver. Don't worry about it. Zhang Xian casually waved. Thank you for standing in front of me and shielding me from the impact of the exploding cauldron. I've never had a man treat me this way before. I understand your intentions. Seeing the casual look on the other party, Mou felt even more guilty. Cough cough, wait a moment. You're mistaking something. I wasn't shielding you from the impact of the exploding cauldron. Zhang Xian shook his head. Stretching out his hand, a few round pills could be seen in his palm. I was just collecting the freshly forged pills. Chapter 260, Half-Zhizun, Freshly Forged Pills. Mou was taken aback. With quivering lips, she asked, can it be that is the forging a success? Due to the explosion of the cauldron, everyone thought that it was a failure. However, Zhang Xian carried in his hands round pills which exuded a powerful young attribute aura. What else could those pills be other than the searing sun pill? A success. How is that possible? With Mou's exclamation, everyone turned their attention to the pills in Zhang Xian's hands and upon seeing the pills in his hands, turned dumbfounded one by one. What is going on? To think that pills were actually formed. Zhu Jinhuang and Zhou Xian's bodies stiffened, and they felt as though they had been slapped in their faces. They had just criticized the other party for attempting something beyond his means, and in the next moment, he whipped out these pills. Even the cauldron had been blown into smithereens. Where could this stuff have come from? If not for the fact that the pills had a lustrous appearance and were emanating heat, which screamed that they were freshly out of the cauldron, the crowd would have suspected if he had prepared these pills beforehand to play out this act. Didn't the cauldron explode? Your pills, trembling, Zhu Jinhuang asked. The others in the room also swiftly turned their heads over. Unable to believe the sight before them, they experienced fainting spells. Who says that it is impossible for pills to be successfully forged in the case of a cauldron explosion? Zhang Xian lifted his eyebrows. Is it possible for pills to be formed even with a cauldron explosion? Everyone felt faint. It was common knowledge that a cauldron explosion was a sign of the failure of a pill forging process. Yet, this fellow broke all preconceptions. Despite the broken cauldron, the pill remained completely intact. What in the world happened? What is going on? Hall Master Feng couldn't help but ask. As the Hall Master of the Beast Hall, he had come across by all sorts of bizarre happenings. Even so, he had never heard of such a thing. The cauldron merely acts as an intermediary for pill forging. The main factors that result in the formation of the pill are the flames and the medicinal herbs. Seeing that everyone's eyes were widened in disbelief, Zhang Xian explained. Earlier, because Mo Xiaojie placed in a medicinal herb at the wrong timing, the medicinal properties within the cauldron clashed, resulting in the violent reaction. Even so, at the very last moment, right before the moment of the explosion, the rise in heat forced the pills to form successfully. If the other party had followed his instructions strictly, she would surely have been able to successfully forge the searing sun pill without any mishap. However, Mo's attention wandered at a crucial moment, resulting in a mistake. Even so, as long as Mou continued forging the pill, the book in the Library of Heaven's Path would continue to refresh itself. Thus, he chose not to give up, and instead, continued instructing to her, trying to avoid all mistakes in the process. Even though the cauldron eventually exploded, the pills were formed at the very last moment. The pills formed at the moment of explosion. Everyone stared at one another in a frenzy. The situation sounded even more incredulous after hearing the explanation. How did you know that the pills had formed given that it was in the cauldron then? Furthermore, to form them at the moment of explosion, how much mastery does one need to possess over medicinal herbs in order to do this? Just when everyone thought he was only skilled in beast taming, he stood out and showcased his medical knowledge. Just when everyone thought that possessing some medical knowledge should be the real limit of his abilities, he ran forward and declared that he was an apothecary. Fine, we'll accept that you are an apothecary. After all, while it's rare, it's not impossible for one to be skilled in multiple occupations. Yet you don't know how to forge pills. Fine, we'll take that as well. However, despite being unable to forge pills yourself, you are able to guide a 1-star apothecary to successfully forge a grade 2 pill. Furthermore, for the pill to be formed at the moment of the explosion, this is inconceivable. People often said that geniuses are eccentric. However, aren't you being too eccentric? Each and every single time, you exceed all of our expectations and accomplish the unthinkable. Even though the cauldron exploded, because the pills were within the cauldron, they managed to survive the primary impact. However, if I didn't swiftly rush forward to guard them, the shock wave from the explosion would still reduce the pills to powder. Thus, I rushed forward to grab the pills at the moment of the explosion. It is fortunate that I managed to make it in time. Zhang Xian explained. Then, he turned to Mou, and with an earnest look, he said, the reason why I charged forward was really to save the pills. Because you were apothecary, when the pills form, they would definitely fly in your direction. Thus, standing before you was the ideal location to catch it. Please do not misunderstand, I really didn't mean to save you. Seeing the other party explaining the situation to her earnestly, Mou's face twitched. Rage surged through her trembling body, and she nearly exploded. When she saw the other party charging forward to protect without care for his personal safety, she was incredibly moved. Yet, now with Zhang Xian's words, the goodwill she held for him vanished without a single trace. Damn it! Can't you say anything good? To have won the favor of a beautiful lady by mistake, even if it wasn't one's original intention to do so, one would usually accept it politely. Yet, Zhang Xian was in a rush to deny the fact, as though it would blemish his reputation no matter what. She is a top beauty, and, not to mention, is the princess of a Tier 1 kingdom. To be in such a rush to deny the matter, what do you mean by that? Are you saying that I am not worthy of you? Or do you find my looks repulsive? Mou gritted her teeth angrily. If she didn't know that she wasn't a match for him, she would have long stepped forward in an attempt to give him a good bashing. Taking a few deep breaths, she forcefully suppressed the anger within her heart. Then with tightly clenched jaws, she said, I'm the princess of Tianwu Kingdom, and I won't owe anyone a favor. No matter what, you saved me. So, feel free to speak of anything you want. That's to say I'll receive a reward for saving you. Zhang Xian was stunned. That's right. Mou spat out. So that's the case. Putting on a serious expression, he said grandly, actually, it was because I noticed your precarious situation that I rushed forward despite the personal risks. As for the pill, that was of secondary concern. Saving you was my greatest priority. Look, I've even sustained injuries on your behalf. Honestly, I won't mind if you pay me 10 million or so. Otherwise, some pills for the wounds would do. Mou. Hall Master Feng and the others. They've seen shameless people, but they've never seen such a shameless one. Mou was so infuriated that she nearly breathed her last. After so much commotion, despite being a princess of a powerful country, the verdict was that her value was beneath that of gold and silver to the other party. What should we do now that the pill has been forged? Do we feed it directly to the howling firmament beast? Hall Master Feng's mouth twitched. Seeing that Mou was on the verge of tears, he quickly interjected and changed the topic to avoid the awkward situation. He was afraid that if he allowed things to progress like that, this princess of a Tier 1 kingdom would die from anger. Oh, dissolve it in water and force it down the howling firmament beast using Jinqi. Zhang Xian passed forward a searing sun pill over. Then, he kept the remaining 2 into his storage ring. All right. Upon hearing Zhang Xian's instructions, Hall Master Feng dissolved the pill in water anxiously and fed it to the unconscious howling firmament beast. Gu. As the medicinal fluid entered the body of the howling firmament beast, a sound reminiscent to the roar of lightning reverberated. Its body began to emanate a wave of heat, just like a pot of oil that has been set on fire. Pai li pa la. Soon, the noise of the cracking of bones sounded. The massive physique of the howling firmament beast grew and expanded once more, and it became just like an insurmountable mountain. Who? The massive savage beast opened its eyes abruptly and released a long howl. The clouds parted immediately, and its voice shook the entire valley. Feeling its intimidating presence, all savage beasts fell silent immediately and trembled in fear. Is this Half-Zhizun? He leapt straight from Zhongshe realm to Half-Zhizun. Hall Master Feng's lips quivered in agitation. On the other hand, Beast Tamer Lu and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. They knew that the Steel Fang howling firmament beast would grow significantly stronger after undergoing the bloodline evolution, but they didn't think that it would be able to surpass Zhongshe realm immediately to reach Half-Zhizun. Zhizun realm was the highest realm of a fighter. The strength of a Zhizun realm expert was several folds greater than that of a Zhongshe realm cultivator, and every single Zhizun expert stood at the very top of the pyramid. As a Half-Zhizun, the howling firmament beast had yet to take the final step into the realm. Even so, it wasn't far from it. Even in Tier 1 Tianwu Kingdom, an expert of this level was considered as a national trump card. With such a powerful savage beast in Xianluo mountain range, the standing of the entire branch would rise exponentially. His words are right. Grandmaster Qing Yang's complexion paled, and he staggered a few steps back. While the other party's words sounded logical, he had remained a little doubtful. However, upon witnessing the situation, the answer couldn't be any more clear to him. The other party's conjecture was completely true. The Steel Fang howling firmament beast had fallen into a coma due to the clash of differing attributes within its body. If they were to have really treated it using the method he had proposed, instead of making a breakthrough to Half-Zhizun, this powerful savage beast would have been dead by now. As a 2-star physician, he had treated countless people. He didn't expect that he would make such a grievous mistake because of a savage beast. In an instant, he looked as though he had aged a decade, and the imposing aura from when he first arrived faded into thin air. For a fellow who hasn't reached 20 to be able to see through the root of the illness of the howling firmament beast with a glance and guide a 1-star apothecary to forge a grade 2 pinnacle pill, Grandmaster Qing Yang's lips trembled uncontrollably as he turned to look at Zhang Xian. The more he looked at him, the more he found the situation unbelievable. Putting him aside, even the famous Lu Shi of Beiwu Kingdom wasn't capable of such a feat. As long as such a person doesn't die, he would definitely become so well known in time, his name resounding throughout the world. "Young lad, what's your name?" Unable to hold himself back, he walked forward and asked. "My name?" Zhang Xian glanced at him. "I am an incompetent nobody." "Incompetent nobody?" Grandmaster Qing Yang froze. Previously, when the other party touched the howling firmament beast, he insulted him as an incompetent nobody and demanded for Hall Master Feng to chase him out. To think that the other party would return those words to him now. The Beast Hall specially invited him to treat the howling firmament beast, but not only did he fail to do so, he nearly killed it. On the other hand, not only did the youngster who he called an incompetent nobody cure the beast of its illness, he even helped it break through and achieve Half-Zhizun. At this moment, all Grandmaster Qing Yang could feel was a burning sensation on his face. Unable to remain here for a second longer, he said, "Hall Master Feng, Beast Tamer Lu, and Beast Tamer Wang, I'll be taking my leave." After saying so, not even getting onto the savage beast he arrived on, he left the Beast Hall. This time, he had truly made a fool of himself. He felt too embarrassed to remain any further. Seeing how Zhang Xian sent a Grandmaster physician leaving in shame, everyone's mouth twitched. This fellow may seem to be casual and light-hearted, but when someone steps on his toes, he becomes fearsome monster. They wouldn't doubt it if someone said that he had killed a person with his words before. "Beast Tamer Lu, go and send off Grandmaster Qing Yang." Hall Master Feng didn't expect Zhang Xian to reply in such a manner. Smiling bitterly, he shook his head and made arrangements for the Grandmaster physician. In any case, Zhang Xian was still young and, not to mention, he was capable. It was natural for him to retaliate when someone insulted him. "Yes." The elder rushed out immediately. Even though Grandmaster Qing Yang had misdiagnosed the howling firmament beast, it didn't mean that he was incompetent. On top of that, he specialized in treating humans rather than savage beasts. Furthermore, which physician could ensure that every single one of their diagnosis was accurate? Even a 9-star physician would be unable to achieve that. There are many different kind of bizarre illnesses in the world. No one would dare to claim that they've seen all of the illness there is in the world and that they can treat all kinds of sickness. Voila! Soon after Beast Tamer Lu left, the aura of the howling firmament beast finally hit a ceiling and stopped rising. Turning around its gigantic head, its gaze fell on Zhang Xian. Then with a roar, it walked to him, lowered its head, and rubbed it against him. Is this voluntary submission? Even though the Steel Fang howling firmament beast was raised by the Beast Hall, it had never submitted to anyone. Yet, at this instant, it actually took the initiative to submit to Zhang Xian. The eyeballs of all beast tamers on the scene popped out immediately, and they were just a slight push away from fainting. This was especially so for Hall Master Feng. His entire body trembled, and he was on the verge of tears. He was just thinking that the Beast Hall could rise to greater heights with a Half-Zhizun savage beast backing it, yet this savage beast chose to submit to someone else. The moment it leaves with its owner without a backing, how could the Beast Hall rise? "You wish to submit to me?" Zhang Xian was stunned for a moment before he realized the intentions of the howling firmament beast. Most likely, this fellow found out that it was Zhang Xian who saved it after waking up and decided to acknowledge Zhang Xian as its master out of gratitude. Alright. It just happened that Zhang Xian was unsatisfied with the viridescent eagle's speed. Since the howling firmament beast had reached Half-Zhizun, its speed should be sufficient to meet his expectations. With a tap of his finger, a droplet of blood flew into the mouth of the howling firmament beast. The other party's intention to submit to him could be felt immediately. It was exactly as Zhang Xian had guessed. The howling firmament beast found out that someone nearly castrated it, and that it was Zhang Xian who saved its life and helped it achieve a breakthrough. That's why it chose to submit to him. After choosing a master, it could communicate with its master if anything happens. At the very least, it wouldn't be put into such danger in the future. Upon realizing these, Zhang Xian nodded his head in satisfaction. On this trip to the beast hall, he had tamed 3 savage beasts and even became a 1-star beast tamer. This was a huge gain for Zhang Xian. Ah, right. Hall Master Feng, how does the 2-star beast tamer examination go? I asked you this question previously, but you've only answered half of it, and, suddenly recalling a matter, Zhang Xian could not help but ask. Previously, after he inquired how the 2-star beast tamer examination worked, Grandmaster Qing happened to arrive. Due to the urgent matter at hand, Hall Master Feng rushed off immediately, and the session ended abruptly. Since the issue had been settled, the Hall Master was free and Zhang Xian could clarify his doubts and decide whether he should take the 2-star examination. Even though he already possessed this Steel Fang howling firmament beast, it would be a waste to allow this opportunity to take the 2-star beast tamer examination slip him by. Besides, there might come a time when he would need to borrow Zongshe realm beast mounts from other beast halls. For the 2-star beast tamer examination, Hall Master Feng shook his head. There's no need for you to take it. There's no need for me to take the examination. Yes, that's because you've already passed the examination. You're already a 2-star beast tamer. Hall Master Feng flashed a bitter smile. Chapter 261, Beast Taming Competition, passed the examination? Zhang Xian was perplexed by his answer. When did I even take the examination? Before the other party could finish his words about the 2-star examination, the issue of the howling firmament beast came up. Zhang Xian didn't even know what the 2-star beast tamer examination was about, so how did he suddenly pass the examination? The 2-star beast tamer examination is significantly easier than the 1-star examination. One just has to tame a Zongshe realm savage beast. Given that the howling firmament beast has submitted to you, you have already met the criteria for promotion. Beast Tamer Lu said. Ah, it's that simple. Zhang Xian was dumbfounded. He had to run about and undergo a pill discourse for the 1-star examination. He hadn't expected the 2-star examination to be so easy and straightforward. Upon hearing his words, everyone became speechless. Savage beasts who manage to reach Zongshe realm possess their own pride and do not submit easily to humans. This could be clearly seen from the fact that the howling firmament beast had never submitted to anyone, even when Hall Master Feng and the others had taken care of it for more than a decade. Zhang Xian only happened to earn its gratitude by treating it when it was in a dire state, thus prompting its submission. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for one to tame a Zongshe realm beast so easily under normal conditions. Beast Tamer Zhang, I'm afraid that your 2-star Beast Tamer emblem won't be ready by today. At the earliest, I can only deliver it to you tomorrow. Why don't you remain here today? I also have something that I would like to discuss with you. Hall Master Feng smiled. This Zhang Xian hesitated. The howling firmament beast has reached Half-Zhizun, so its speed has increased tremendously. Even though the Red Lotus Ridge may be far, you can reach in 2 days. Besides, it's also getting dark, so it would be good for you to rest here for the night as well. Hall Master Feng persuaded. All right then. Lifting his head, Zhang Xian realized that the sky had dimmed unknowingly while he was busy, and it was already nearing sunset. Thus, he nodded in agreement. All right, Beast Tamer Zhang, this way. Seeing the other party agree to the matter, Hall Master Feng was delighted. He immediately ushered him along. Let's go. Zhang Xian nodded and followed behind him. Since the commotion had come to an end, the crowd gradually dispersed from the scene. Are you saying that not only did Beast Tamer Zhang treat the howling firmament beast but also tamed it? And he treated an illness which even Grandmaster Qing is incapable of solving? You must be joking with me, surely. The steel fang howling firmament beast has reached Half-Zhizun. The news spread across the beast hall swiftly. Upon hearing the news, everyone's first reaction was disbelief. Shen Bairu, who was waiting outside, was completely dumbfounded. She knew that Zhang Laoshi had a tendency to cause an uproar wherever he went, but she didn't expect that he would cause such a huge commotion. For him to see through an illness which even Grandmaster Qing Yang was unable to discern, when did this fellow become so adept in the way of medicine? Furthermore, he tamed the howling firmament beast and became a 2-star beast tamer. I wonder if Han Xiong will believe me if I tell her about it. After confirming the news again and again with Yun Tao, a bitter smile appeared on Shen Bairu's face. Her best friend, Han Xiong, had spent a great effort before she managed to become an apprentice beast tamer. It had been several years since then, and she had been unable to complete the final step to becoming an official beast tamer. On the other hand, this fellow's original intention was to borrow a beast mount at the beast hall, yet not only did he become an official beast tamer, he even reached 2 stars. More importantly, he even managed to take the prized treasure of the beast hall for himself. If she were to tell Han Xiong about this matter, she might just go insane on the spot. As a 2-star beast tamer, Zhang Xian was entitled to numerous privileges. For one, he was immediately given a residence in the beast hall. Knowing that Shen Bairu had no lodging here, Zhang Xian had her move in to settle down first. On the other hand, he followed behind Hall Master Feng to a large and wide lounge. Beast tamer Zhang possesses outstanding talents, and not to mention, you are a master teacher apprentice. This thing will probably be of use. After they sat down, Hall Master Feng smiled and passed an object to Zhang Xian. Casually grabbing it, Zhang Xian took a look and was astonished. Enlightenment Jade? The Enlightenment Jade was the item which Xiaoya's father, City Lord Zhao Feng, gave him back then in Tianxian Kingdom. It is useful for raising one's soul depth. That's right. Hall Master Feng nodded his head. Zhang Xian stared at him doubtfully. Despite the huge amount of jade that Baiyu City mined throughout the years, only a single Enlightenment Jade was found. This showed how rare and valuable the object was, yet this Hall Master Feng was giving it to him so casually. I only happened to obtain it by coincidence. As a beast tamer, this object is completely useless to me. On the other hand, you are a master teacher apprentice, and since you're going to take the master teacher examination eventually, there's a need for you to raise your soul depth. Rather than allowing this item to collect dust in my storage, I might as well give it to you. Sensing Zhang Xian's doubt, Hall Master Feng explained. Zhang Xian nodded his head. Just as he was about to speak, Beast Tamer Lu grinned. I realize that Beast Tamer Zhang has reached Tongxian Realm Pinnacle, and you aren't too far from Half-Zhizun. I happen to still have the cultivation technique manual that I practiced back then, as well as a notebook on the epiphanies I had, so I'll give them to you. Even though you already have an incredible teacher and probably don't lack these, please accept this token of sincerity on my part. As he said so, he retrieved a few books and passed them over. Zhang Xian flipped through them, and they were indeed manuals and cultivation pointers for reaching Half-Zhizun. I am not as wealthy as the other two and do not have many prized possessions. All I own is this sword. It was crafted by Grandmaster Blacksmith Qing Yanzi of Tianwu Kingdom personally, and I'll give it to you now. Beast Tamer Wang stroked his beard with a smile and passed forward a sword. Wait a moment. Seeing the 3 smiling elders stuffing objects at him, Zhang Xian stopped them hurriedly. There is no such thing as a free lunch. He didn't think that his reputation was so sound as to have 3 great 2-star beast tamers gift him with such treasures despite having just met. If there's anything on your mind, feel free to speak of it. As expected of Beast Tamer Zhang, you sure are a frank person. Hall Master Feng glanced at the other two before nodding. Since that's the case, I'll get straight to the point. Actually, there's something that we require your help with. You require my help? Zhang Xian was stunned. While Zhang Xian had become a 2-star beast tamer, the same could be said of the other 3. Besides, having served as leaders of the Beast Hall for many years, their connections far surpassed his. Zhang Xian couldn't think of anything that might require his help. Could it be, the beast pummeling taming method was created by my teacher? He has strictly instructed me to not impart it on to anyone, so, after digesting all of the books in the library of the Beast Hall, Zhang Xian understood why everyone was so shocked by his feat of taming a savage beast by beating it up. It was precisely due to the pure Heaven's Path Xinqi and the ability of the Library of Heaven's Path to peer into the flaws of savage beasts that he could easily tame them. Even if he wanted to impart it to them, they wouldn't be able to replicate his means. Furthermore, there was a risk that the existence of the Heaven's Path divine art might be revealed. It was clear that these three elders had something to request of him given how they were stuffing gifts toward him. However, there was no way that Zhang Xian could teach them the beast pummeling taming art. Thus, it was best for him to turn them down in advance. In any case, teachers were highly respected in the world, and the teacher's words were absolute to his students. If Zhang Xian's teacher instructed him to not impart the technique on to anyone, then he mustn't impart it regardless of the situation. Therefore, by saying so, it would be hard for the three elders to persist on the issue. In a sense, it was the best excuse for the situation. Every single beast tamer has their own secret technique. We won't ask for it if you are unwilling to impart it. However, our purpose isn't this. At this point, Hall Master Feng shook his head. Just like how most established apothecaries have their own personal forging technique, most famous beast tamers also possess their own beast taming methods. On top of that, depending on one's disposition and cultivation technique, everyone has different beast taming methods that were compatible with them. Even if they were to learn the other party's means, it wasn't guaranteed that they would be able to replicate his accomplishments. Rather than offending a rising beast tamer for an unlikely probability, they would rather not touch on the subject. It's not that. Zhang Xian was bewildered. Can it be that you three have some incurable disease, and you all want me to treat you? Are you suffering from the same symptoms as the howling firmament beast, being unable to sleep at night as well? If it's really that bad, you can try Grandmaster Qing Yang's treatment method, cough cough. Upon hearing those words, Hall Master Feng and the others choked on their saliva. They felt a cold sensation in the lower half of their body. What the heck are you thinking about? We merely require your help. If we allow you to ramble on like this, we might really end up as eunuchs, it's like that. Afraid that they would lose their dignity if Zhang Xian went on like that, Hall Master Feng hurriedly interjected. Just like the Apothecary Guild, the Beast Hall has many branches as well. Since you're an official beast tamer, I probably won't have to explain too much. Zhang Xian nodded. After reading through the books in the library, Zhang Xian had gained some understanding of the Beast Hall. The Beast Hall wasn't just a singular entity. There were many branches just like the Xianluo mountain range branch spread all over the world. Our Beast Hall is a Tier 2 Kingdom level branch, and we are under the jurisdiction of the Xianyuan Kingdom Beast Hall. There were many different tiers to the various branches as well. The Xianluo Mountain Range Beast Hall mainly dealt with the surrounding dozen or so Tier 2 kingdoms, and it was considered as the lowest tier branch. Xianyuan Kingdom was the closest conferred kingdom in the area. Kingdoms can be classified as conferred, Tier 1, Tier 2, and unranked. Tianxian Kingdom was an unranked kingdom. While Beiwu Kingdom, with 1-star master teachers holding reign in the kingdom, was a Tier 2 kingdom. Tianwu Kingdom, who had 2-star master teachers, was a Tier 1 kingdom. On the other hand, Xianyuan Kingdom had 3-star master teachers, thus it was ranked as a conferred kingdom. As a conferred kingdom, it was qualified to build a gigantic transportation portal to trade with other countries. As such, this solidified its standing as a trading hub, and its national power was on the constant rise. The Xianyuan Kingdom conducts a beast taming competition once every 5 years, and it invites young beast tamers from the various subordinate beast halls to participate. Hall Master Feng explained. Since you officially became a beast tamer at our Xianluo Mountain Range Beast Hall, you are considered as a member of our branch. I hope that you can attend the competition in the name of our Beast Hall. Beast Taming Competition. That's right. This beast taming competition brings the various talented beast tamers from surrounding kingdoms together, and if you can stand out from the group and emerge victoriously, you will be highly regarded by the Beast Hall, and all kinds of resources will be devoted into grooming you. At the same time, the reputation of our branch will also grow. After saying so, Hall Master Feng looked at Zhang Xian expectantly. This Zhang Xian didn't expect the request to be this. Glancing at Hall Master Feng, he asked, when is the competition? If the competition was coming up soon, Zhang Xian would reject them immediately. His main priority at the moment was to deal with the deadly poison lingering in his body and take the Master Teacher examination. The only reason why he took the Beast Tamer examination was for the fee exemption on using their beast mount. It will be held half a year later in Xianyuan Royal City. Hall Master Feng said. Half a year later. That I'll have to see if I have the time then. Zhang Xian didn't dare to agree immediately. He didn't want to make empty promises. Despite your young age, you have already reached the level of a 2-star beast tamer. On top of that, you're skilled in the way of medicine and are a master teacher apprentice. If you were to join the competition, you will surely be able to achieve remarkable results. Seeing that Zhang Xian was unmoved by his words, Hall Master Feng decided to throw in his trump card. Furthermore, you'll be entitled to generous rewards if you win the competition. The rewards aren't important. It's just that I might be busy during that period of time. Zhang Xian shook his head. Rejected by the other party, Hall Master Feng and the others couldn't help but feel disappointed. However, before they could wallow in their disappointment for long, the other party's voice sounded once more. Ah, by the way, what are the rewards? You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.